original hearing for Mr. Tony LISONBEE. Am I saying that correctly?
Yes.
Sir? Offender number 252156. Is that you, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
My name is Kelly Perry. I'm a hearing officer with the Board of Pardons and Parole, and I'll be conducting your hearing today. As is an official proceeding, I do need to swear you in, so if you could please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Did you receive 7 days written notice of today's hearing?
Yes,
Did you receive your blue disclosure packet?
I have.
And did you have a chance to review that?
I did.
Do you feel prepared to go forward with today's hearing?
Yes.
Are there any errors or corrections I should know about in that blue disclosure packet before we begin today?
The only thing I recognized in 2014, it said I had an open container. I don't remember getting that. That's the only thing I kind of went back with my girlfriend and we were trying to figure out when I got an open container. That's the only thing I can't remember. So,
And I'll be making notes throughout this hearing. I want you to know I am listening. I'm just making notes of what
yeah,
you're saying.
that's fine.
All right, so just to tell you how today's going to go, I'm going to go over procedurally how we got to this hearing. I'm going to go over a description of your offense. I'm going to go over a brief description. The longer version was in the pre-sentence investigation, which was part of your blue disclosure packet. We'll go over any background questions I have, institutional behavior and programming, if you were released, what that would look like. And then at the end of the hearing, if you have further questions or comments or anything else you want noted for the board to let me know, okay? And I would note that you have support here. I'll state that for the record and the board will know, okay?
All right, thank you.
So it looks like a special attention happened in November of 2022. The board continued the original hearing till now with sex offender treatment program memo. They noted prior to this hearing that they expected you to complete all recommended sex offender treatment and remain case action plan compliant. They returned case 2019-10580 to the trial court for restitution determination and then forward to the Office of State Debt Collection. In an earned time credit decision in December of 2022, is noted that you completed your high school diploma. And also in a special attention in August of 2023, the sex offender treatment program assessed you as below average risk. They noted based on your risk level that they recommended treatment in the community. And they said further, sex offender treatment program no longer provides treatment for individuals who are below average or very low risk. The board removed the sex offender treatment memo, and it was noted that you were expected to remain case action plan compliant and complete all recommended treatment. Does that sound procedurally correct, sir?
Yes.
Okay. In regards to your offense, I show case 2019-10580. I show the victim reported Mr. LISONBEE, who is the victim's stepfather, on several occasions engaged in lewd behavior, sexually assaulted her, and offered her money to perform sexual acts. In the pre-sentence investigation, he spoke of drinking during the offense. Is that correct, sir?
Yes, it was a granddaughter,
Okay. So the victim was the granddaughter, your granddaughter?
except granddaughter.
Otherwise, is that description
Yes.
accurate? Anything you want to say about the offense?
I just would love to apologize to her. I mean, we had a great relationship. I don't know why I became like that. I'm not that type of person. I mean, I love her with all my heart, and I'm a totally different man.
Why do you say that?
For being locked down, I mean, just the time I've been down is just to think about what I did. I think my problem was I was looking at too much porn, you know.
Child porn?
Not child porn, no, just regular porn. And maybe my drinking just got in the way there. That's just not who I am.
So obviously this happened, sir.
Yes.
So, and I understand you're saying a different person, but what are your risks? Because obviously this is a very serious offense and violent offense. So what are your risks moving forward?
I don't think I have any risk. I don't look at children that way. I'm a very loving person. I have a lot of grandkids. I have 3 boys, and I've never been like this before in my life. I don't think I would have a risk of going back and doing something like that. That's the last thing in my mind, to do something like that.
And sir, part of this hearing, right, is definitely talk about the offense. And for me to gain insight into how this issue will be dealt with in the future. But when you're telling me you have no risk, it obviously happened and you're saying it happened. So,
Yeah.
so why do you think it occurred?
I honestly don't know. I can't really answer that, why it occurred. Me and the victim were very close. We did everything together. I mean, me and my granddaughters, they were always with Papa, always. I don't know what went through my mind. Stupidity. I mean, that's all I can say about that. I mean,
Were you drunk during these offenses?
yes. And I'm in the drug program right now.
Which is good.
Even recovery is what it's called now.
And I do want to talk about that first, definitely during this hearing. But obviously a lot of people drink and they don't commit this offense.
Yeah,
So I'm still, if you have any more further insight, about this offense, I would like to hear it.
I don't know what made my mind go to doing that. You know, I really don't. Like I said, I think I was just caught up and not thinking straight when I was drinking, because that was the last thing I wanted to do, is to do that.
Do you have any current victim contact?
No,
Okay. When's the last time you had contact with the victim?
before I got locked down. Before
During this offense or?
no, I haven't talked to her once since I've been locked down.
Okay. Sir, I'm a hearing officer. I make recommendations. The board ultimately decides. But I've never seen them grant parole without some kind of no victim contact condition. Would you abide by that, sir?
Oh, of course.
Okay. Sir, also, I think it is very likely based on the nature of the offense. Once again, I'm a hearing officer, make recommendations, but I do think based on the offense that you are likely to have what are called sex offender A conditions. Do you know what that means, sir?
You know,
Those conditions include things that prohibit you from doing certain things. It can also include therapy and other things. One of those things that would prohibit you from doing is having any contact with children. Would you abide by that?
yeah, if I have to. I mean,
You mentioned
I got 2 brand new grandsons out there that I haven't met. I mean, my boys, but
so those are obviously children.
Yeah.
So what I would say is, I think it's very likely if you are paroled, which the board decides, but if you do get paroled and have any intent or would like to see them, that you ask your parole officer, see if that is allowed. And if it is allowed, what are the conditions surrounding it? But obviously you don't want to violate your parole, right? So,
I do everything they would tell me to do.
but I think it's very likely you have no contact with children condition.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll oblige to whatever they give me.
Okay. How long did these offenses go on? How long was the sexual assault? Like how many, was it months, years?
No, maybe months, few months.
And how old was the victim?
I think 14 at the time.
Sir, I understand that the sex offender treatment program assessed you. I understand what their recommendations are. But I'm asking you, do you think you need sex offender treatment?
I mean, if I need to, of course, I'll do whatever, you know,
But I'm asking you what you
honestly,
think.
no, I don't think I do.
Why?
Because that's just not who I am. I know I screwed up. And this is the first time I've ever been in trouble my whole life. And I screwed up big time. I mean, this is nothing to joke around. It's just not me. I mean, people I look for is people my age, or, you know, my girlfriend, she's a little bit older than me. That's who I care for. And I just know I wouldn't do this offense ever again. I was not in the right mind. But if the board tells me to do this program, of course I'll do it. I mean, to prove to everyone that I am trying to change, that's if I would do it in a heartbeat.
It sounds like, at least somewhat, that this offense, you contribute your behavior to your alcohol use.
Yes.
How would you describe your current attitude towards alcohol?
Right now, I'm totally against it. Totally against the drugs, alcohol. I mean, I've been sober for,
Were you using drugs too?
no, never done drugs in my life.
So when you say you're against alcohol, so it sounds like you may have been drinking alcohol for a while. So why is your attitude changed?
Because you just don't think straight when your mind's not at the top of its game when you're under the influence. And then with this Achieve Recovery, it really teaches a lot of things, the skills and everything. And it's that's what we're here to get ourselves out of that.
So I thought did you graduate the program or?
I should be done in about a month and a half. Maybe the 1st of March is when I should be graduated from it.
So how long is the program?
It's usually about 6 months to 7 months.
And how long will you have been in the program if you
You
do
guys
March?
started in August,
Okay.
if I remember right.
And what have you liked, not liked, learned in the program?
I've learned a lot about drugs, even though I've never done heroin or all these other, I don't even know what the drugs are called, but watching the people in the classes and letting them open up and telling you what they've gone through, it's just mind blowing what drugs do to people, and alcohol. I mean, on how people live their lives because of that.
And I appreciate that you're explaining that to me and you've had that experience and it sounds like you've taken it in. What have you gained about you?
I think I've become a stronger person. I'm more open. I became a peer lead in the section where I'm at right now.
Okay.
I mean, I get to talk to everyone and everyone comes, and if they have, I don't say I'm a counselor, but not everyone gets counseling unless you are in the program there. So they come and talk to the peer leads there and they have problems. So you get to know a lot of people and you get to realize it makes you grow. It's made me grow so much by listening to people and trying to help them out and help them be positive in life. I mean, that's all I'm trying to do is be positive. You know, I'm always smiling, always easy to talk to.
Sir, in your board packet, one of the things I want to discuss was that I can't remember exactly how you phrased it, but you alluded to wanting contact with the victim and that I wanted to make sure I gave you an opportunity to
That
explain
was
that.
just to apologize to the victim for what I've done. I mean, I have a feeling she still cares for me and loves for me as much as I do her. I've been there since she was a baby. I don't think she hates me. I know it was wrong. I would just want to let her know that, if you want to call her papa, her grandpa, that is, I'm sorry from the deep bottom of my heart for what I've done.
And of course, you're allowed to say that at this hearing, but once again, I would note in regards to your conditions, you don't want to violate them. And I think it's very likely, even if it is to apologize, that you have no contact with the victim. Do you understand?
I know she's 18 now too.
It,
Yeah, I understand you 100%.
okay. In regards to release plans, I showed that you'd like to live with your mothers and sisters in Salt Lake and work in remodeled homes. Is that still the plan, sir?
Yes, I've remodeled my whole life. That's pretty much all I know how to do.
Are there children in that home?
That's what I'm not sure of. I know I talked to my sister. I'm not sure if there's even room there now. I don't know if I have to, I'll go to a halfway house. I'm going to the LDS church. I don't know I know they have plans on homes and stuff like that to help you out with. So whatever it takes, I'll do whatever I need to do.
Do you have any treatment set up in the community?
No, I haven't, not yet.
Have you looked into any treatment?
No, I haven't, to be honest with you. I've really been keeping my mind on doing all my studying and stuff for this program I'm in right now.
Sir, is there any treatment that you specifically think you need moving forward? That the board could order, whether it's in prison, whether it's in the community?
I mean, in the community, I think I've been a upstanding person in prison. I've never been in trouble.
I show no disciplinary violations.
If I need to, I would do the SO treatment on the outs if I had to. And I'm more than willing to do that. Other than that, I mean, I really didn't think I really had that bad of an alcohol problem. I mean, I've been in this program for a little bit, so yeah, for what I've done, I had a problem, you know. And I appreciate the program. I mean, the counselors and the therapists are just amazing here, so.
That's good. All right, sir. And then I would note that the board received letters of support. I reviewed all of them. They're part of the file and the board will have access to them, okay? All right, so those are all of my questions. From here, I'm a hearing officer. I make recommendations. The board ultimately decides. They're made up of 5 members. 3 of them have to come to one decision. That's the decision of the board. You should get that in writing within 2 to 4 weeks. Your family members, your friends, anyone listening to this hearing via video can go to bop.utah.gov. As soon as we have the decision, we post it on our website. It still takes some time, just so you know, it's not immediate, but someone can look that up because it is going to be faster on the website than the mail, and someone can tell you what that decision is. I note your guidelines, sir. The easiest way to think of that is a suggestion. It's based on a number of factors. That's how it's calculated. And your guideline shows is 59 months or September 18th, 2025. But I want you to understand the board ultimately decides. They can go below that, above that, same date. They decide moving forward what happens. I show a lifetime top as your expiration of sentence. Do you have any closing comments or questions for myself or for the board?
Not really. I have learned my lesson. I would love to be out there again with my family. I'd love to see my mother. She's 87 years old. I've already lost my dad and one sister since I've been down. So I'd really, really would love to just be out there to show them that I am a better person, and to my girlfriend and friends, everyone, to let them know that I am a changed person, and I want to prove that to everyone.
Any other comments? All right, sir. Well, I made notes of all we talked about today. We'll go ahead and conclude. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
This is the time and place set for parole violation original hearing for Jeremy Roberts, inmate 196254. Is that you, sir? I'm Kathleen. I'm a hearing officer with the Board of Pardons and Parole. I'll be conducting your hearing today. Because I'll be taking testimony from you, I'm going to have you raise your right hand for me so I can place you under oath. Do you swear and affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, sir. Sir, did you receive 7 days notice of this hearing along with your blue packet?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you have a chance to review that?
Okay.
Did you have any questions on it?
Nope.
Okay. What I plan on doing is going over your current committing offense, and then we'll go over your parole violations, okay? In case 241-902-207, you were convicted of a Class A misdemeanor possession or use of a controlled substance. This occurred around March 29th, 2024, where officers were conducting a search of you prior to taking you to jail. They found 0.8 grams of methamphetamine on your person. Is that accurate, sir? Is there anything you wanted to add to that? Okay. I'm going to go over your parole violations, and I'm going to ask if you admit, deny, or no contest to each one. Some of these may have been dismissed, not filed, something like that in your court case. I'm still going to ask if you admit, deny, or no contest for the parole violation purposes, okay? On allegation 1, by having had contact with children under the age of 18 without prior authorization from adult probation and parole on or about March 28, 2024, in violation of your condition D of the Group A sex offender agreement, do you admit, deny, or no contest?
Admit.
On allegation 2, by having had in your possession materials that act as a sexual stimulus for his deviance on or about March 28, 2024, in violation of your condition G of a Group A sex offender agreement, do you admit, deny, or no contest?
Contest.
On allegation 3, by having committed or by having been convicted of a new criminal offense or violated a court order, enticing a minor by electronic communication device, a second-degree felony, or by having associated with a person involved in criminal activity on or about March 28, 2024, in violation of your parole agreement, do you admit, deny, or no contest?
Contest.
On allegation 4, by having committed or by having been convicted of a new criminal offense or violated a court order, possession of a controlled substance within a correctional facility, Class A misdemeanor, which I amended to reflect your current committing offense, or by having associated with a person involved in in criminal activity on or about March 28th, 2024 in violation of your parole agreement, do you admit, deny, or no contest? Go ahead and take judicial notice on that allegation. It is your current committing offense in case 241902207. Will accept admissions to allegations 1 and 4, revoke parole for March 5th, 2024, as well as accept your no contest pleas to allegations 2 and 3. Tell me what was going on, sir, during this time. You only lasted on parole for about 24 days.
That's usually all I ever, so I don't do well with supervision. So with me, when I feel like I'm in a corner, in a rut, I just go down a path of destruction.
Right.
And there's no way out. So that's what happened. I felt myself going already in a downward spiral instead of using the tools that I've learned. I just chose to continue to go down that same path.
So if this is your reoccurring pattern, basically, then, and you're probably not going to get off supervision, how are you going to move forward? Like, how are you going to change that? Because you're the only one who can.
No, absolutely. And I have to be aware of myself before I, you know, I mean, I have to understand my patterns. I have to understand the way I feel in certain situations and be able to break that cycle. And so therefore I've got the tools. At times I just choose not to apply them.
So what's going to change you to be able to choose? Because you said you knew you were going down that path this last time, but you chose just to continue down that path. So what's going to change that mindset for you?
So when you put me in especially like so with the halfway houses are a trap house. I'm gonna be 100% honest. You know what I mean? You're putting an addict in a place where there's already gonna be drugs. So when I first hit Nuke, I had already had drugs in my hand before less than an hour of being there. So you're putting me already in a situation where I'm already gonna have to start that downhill spiral.
Okay.
So I've told the board this. I've been saying this for years since I started parole, that it's halfway houses aren't I'm not suitable, and I'm not suitable for supervision. I didn't do good on probation, and I've done 7 paroles. Obviously, I'm not suitable for supervision. So and I'm gonna be honest. I will not accept another parole. So you can either expiate me or terminate me.
Okay.
Because I'm tired of looking like a revolving door. I understand that it's my behaviors that are doing so. And I'm just gonna be honest, I'm not suitable for it. I'm not a candidate that can continue to do pro, because all I'm gonna do is I'm gonna be right back.
One of my other concerns is the contact with underage girls. Because that'll get you, even if you were to terminate,
Yeah.
that'll get you back here faster than anything else. So what is it that causes you to continue that pattern or patterns that are similar when it comes to underage kids?
My addiction. So before I even started getting high, it's not an issue. When I start getting high, I get into the mindset of I don't care. I don't care about who cares. I don't care about anybody. But it's once I start, and I haven't fully understood, you know, I mean, how to break the cycle of my addiction.
Say that last part again.
I haven't quite learned how to break the cycle of my addiction. But that's my biggest thing, is when I start getting high, I don't care.
What's going to help you start to identify those things?
I mean, I've done conquest, but over there they teach you just the basic fundamentals. They don't do in depth. So I've asked the board, but there's no rehabs that'll accept sex offenders. So it's hard to go to a rehab.
Right.
I mean, there's certain sober livings that'll accept us. But it's like, how do I go about doing that? If there's not a rehab that's going to accept me with my charges, then obviously I can't. It's hard to do any type of them programs out there. And here we got conquest, you got hope, we got the basic fundamentals, but there's nothing that dives deeper.
Okay.
So-
So you feel like you need a deeper level of programming treatment for your addiction
Yeah.
to learn to better understand it. But there's barriers there because,
Because of the sex offense. I mean, I've found at least two sober livings that'll accept sex offenders
okay,
that I know of.
okay,
And I contacted them the last time I was down, and they're like, yeah, you just get a date, and then, but every time I find these these pathways, it seems like, okay, no, we're sending you back to the halfway house. You need that structure.
Okay.
Well, let me go do what I need. Let me go fundamentally do what I need to do. You know what I mean? I'm finding alternate pathways. Let me try something new. You keep sending me back to these same old ways. Why? Just because you know I'm gonna go back to these halfway houses and mess up just so I can come back. Let me try an alternate path.
And I see what you're saying, but at the same time, I mean, you've even said it's your choice that keeps bringing you back here, right? So at some point, I mean, even in society, you're going to run into the people that are going to tempt you or potentially bring you back down this path. So really, the biggest thing is your mindset.
No, absolutely.
That's got to change.
No, absolutely. And with that being said, in society, if I'm out in society, I can leave. I can go do something. In
Okay.
halfway house, I can't. I'm stuck in a building with a bunch of individuals that are doing the same exact thing.
So are you, and you're saying you'll refuse parole, period, no matter what?
If I'm able to do an alternate, if I'm able to go to a sober living where I can try an alternate path, I'll take a parole.
Okay. So it's just if they're going to
If
send
you're
you
gonna send me
back
to a
to
halfway house,
CCC.
I will not sign a parole agreement because I know what happens in there. And I'm not willing, I don't want to be looking at continuous revolving door, 7 paroles, all 7 of them into a halfway house.
Okay. Do you have an address?
I have a place in West Weaver that I can go to. But I don't want to necessarily go directly to
Right.
address. I would like to try the sober living out to figure out, see if I can find alternate tools or tools that I haven't learned yet for my addiction.
Okay.
And I've been in contact with Pivot Point. Pivot Point's one that accepts sex offenders. So if I can go to a sober living where I can learn something, possibly, then absolutely I'll take a parole. But if I have to go to a CCC, I would much rather not. I would much rather not waste my time and the state's time.
Okay. When's the last time you completed sex offender programming?
2018.
Okay. There is a chance that they'll more than likely want to see an updated assessment from SOT because of this,
The nature of the violations.
right. So just be aware of that. As far as that goes. Tell me about your disciplinaries.
So I had a failure to produce. I couldn't urinate.
Okay.
So, and then I had possession of a tattoo paraphernalia. I had a little baggie of ink.
Were you going to get or going to give?
Neither. I was holding on to it for somebody that had left the section.
Tell me what you've been up to since you've been here.
So I'm in right now. I got 2 more weeks left of Captain Your Story.
Okay.
I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna do the bounce back with them. I just started Inside Out Dad again for the second time. I was in solid for 7 months, almost 8 months before I got kicked out.
Okay. Tell me what you got kicked out.
For that disciplinary for the
August one?
yeah, the
Substance use?
no, the other one, the tattoo perfect
Oh, okay.
BL7.
How was the solid program for the time you were there?
It was nice. The structure was great. It was being able to you you're staying busy at all times throughout the day. So it was made my time go by quick, and I mean, I didn't really have to have that negative mindset of wanting to do anything else besides just focus on myself.
Tell me what you've learned in Captain Your Story and the time that you were in for solid.
So the time I was in solid, I've learned structure. I've learned to identify why I was doing what I'm doing and kind of the mindset, but also how do I counter that now? You know what I mean? So I've kind of learned different tools from individuals that are successful or have been successful. Captain Stories just opened up my mindset of, what do I want to do in life? What is your biggest picture? And how to actually accomplish that without having the roadblocks and how to get over them roadblocks or learning dips.
Okay. How can you apply that to your own situation?
Um, right now, it's kind of hard because I'm not in a situation where I can really utilize the tools. But fundamentally, when I get out there, I can utilize what I want to do in life. So ultimately, I'm wanting to go back to school. I'm wanting to open up my own business. And with Capture Your Story, there's people in Capture Your Story that'll teach you and guide you that are obviously been successful in the business industry and have told me, when you get out, come talk to me. I'll help you fundamentally learn how to open and run a business.
What business do you want to open?
So I want to open up my own barbershop.
Do you have any mental health diagnoses, sir?
Yeah.
What are they?
Bipolar, manic depression.
Are you on medications? How do you feel like they help?
The one I'm on now is better than the ones I've been on.
Okay.
So
So you feel like they're useful? You plan on taking those when you're out?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you feel like there's anything that would prevent you from being able to have a successful parole?
yep. My only problem is my addiction. That and that's one being 100% honest is
Okay.
I'm a strong drug addict. When I start, it's once I start into like a depression cycle or I don't care cycle, I just choose not to pull myself out. And I don't know why that is. I still haven't figured out why I want to continue just to fall instead of break the cycle and get out. Why I continue just to me, it's something I've been doing my whole life. So it's just been a habitual, not a habitual, yeah, I guess a habit that I've just, because I've had nobody in my life to be like, hey, pull yourself out of it. It's always here. Here's some meth. Here's some dope. Pull
Okay.
yourself out of it. You'll be okay.
Okay.
So I'm like, okay, cool. Let's just mask it and hide it.
Okay. What do you feel like for you has changed this time around in hopes that you don't end up back here, if anything?
I'm hoping that with the classes I've taken, solid, you know, being fundamentally the way that they are. And I've still got all the assignments, all the seminars I've done. I've got all that I've kept all my resources, as well as having the community with Captain Your Story. I feel like I've got a stronger support now that I could fall back onto if I start getting into a rut, that I've never had. I've never had people being able, so I can just be like, hey, I'm in a situation. I need to either talk. I need to be pulled out. I need to, you know what I mean? I have that resource now.
Okay. So you feel like you have supports?
Yeah.
Sir, is there anything else at this point you would like the board to know or feel like the board needs to know? Okay. What I plan on doing is taking the information we discussed today, compiling that into a report and submitting that to the board. You're well aware how this works. Board's the one that makes the final decision. Usually takes about 2 to 4 weeks for them to get that decision out to you. You are past your guideline as of November 29th, 2024. You're also well aware that that is just a guideline. The board can choose to keep you past that guideline if they feel like they want you to complete something prior to that opportunity. Like I said, they'll probably want a sex offender assessment updated just to get a read on that. You're also well aware you have a 15-year top, which is coming up, which means on January 18th, 2027, your time with the board will have expired, given there are no other further offenses moving forward. Do you have any other questions for me, sir?
Nope.
All right, with that, we'll go ahead and conclude this hearing. Thank you. Good luck to you and have a good day.
You too.
Sorry, I have to get close.
This is the time and place set for a rehearing, original hearing for Michael Nelder, inmate 172639. Is that you, sir?
Yes,
I'm Kathleen. I'm a hearing officer with the Board of Pardons and Parole. I'll be conducting your hearing today. Because I'll be taking testimony from you, I'm gonna have you raise your right hand for me so I can place you under oath. Do you swear and affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you, sir. Sir, did you receive 7 days' notice of this hearing along with your blue packet?
Yes,
Do you have a chance to review that?
yes,
Do you have any questions on it?
no,
Okay, I do want to make you aware that we do have victims in the hearing room here at the Salt Lake Prison. They will be making a statement a little later on in the hearing, at which time you will be directed not to directly talk to them, because I will ask you what your thoughts are, or if there's anything you want me to know after the statement, okay?
yes,
Can you hear it?
So at your last hearing, the board wanted you to complete sex offender programming, have no contact with the victims, and have no disciplinary violations. Because this is a rehearing, original hearing, that means that you have committed a new offense and were convicted of a Class A misdemeanor, so we're gonna go over that offense, okay?
yes,
In case 221600004, you were convicted of a Class A misdemeanor, attempted assault by prisoner. This occurred around March 7th, 2021. Can you tell me what happened? Briefly.
I was, taking care of other inmates' electronics, making sure they were charged. I dropped one of them and another inmate, started running his mouth about it because and I got upset about it because it wasn't his business. And once I went back to the dorm room, came back out, he jumped up from the table. I took it as like a defensive measure, and I just went after him and started fighting him.
Okay. At any time, did you think that probably wasn't the best idea?
No, because I went off of my anger.
Okay. Looking back, is there anything you would have done differently?
I should have sat down and talked with him calmly and brought in other inmates that were quote unquote leaders because it was the program, and brought them into it and settled everything in a calmer manner.
Was this when you were in the sex offender program?
No, it was in the drug program Focus in Kane County.
Now tell me a little bit about, let's start with the substance abuse programming. Tell me what's going on there.
So I entered it in March of 2018 because they seen it as my number one on my mapping.
Yeah.
So I accepted it, and throughout the 5 years I was in it, I kept on self-sabotaging myself because I was afraid of getting out early at that time.
Okay. Where are you at now?
I am in Duchesne County.
I'm talking about with the programming, sorry.
Oh, as far as I know, the drug program was taken off my mapping, so they didn't accept me back and got sent to Duchesne County upon waiting for the SOTP program.
Now tell me what's going on with the SOT program.
So before I left Kane County, I was a month and a half into pre-SOTP and got kicked out of the jail for security reasons and sent here to Duchesne.
Okay, and what security reasons was that?
I was logging on to other inmates' accounts on the tablets without their permission.
Okay, why were you doing that?
Selfish reasons for watching movies and whatnot on the tablet.
Okay. Now tell me about why you haven't been back into sex offender programming.
In my mind, I felt it was better to hear from the board upon their decision on what to do instead of doing it myself.
Here's my concerns that I have, and I'll just be straightforward with you. So I listened to one of your prior hearings back from 2013, and there's some same information that's in your sex offender programming memo that you should have received a copy of that was submitted to the board as well about your own concerns, about your belief that you have an inability to not offend. Is that accurate?
Yes,
And that one of the things that you felt like was going to help you with that potentially would have been programming. Is that accurate?
yes,
And you've been eligible to go back into sex offender programming since April 26, 2023. Correct?
yes,
But you have failed to do so. And that's still one of your concerns about your potential reoffense in the future. Correct?
yes,
Now, my other concern is we only have a specific amount of time with you, which for the most part's been wasted away for several years, to include plus decade, right? Because of this sex offender programming that usually they try and get you into prior to a couple years prior to your next hearing, which you failed to do so. And we only have you now till December 28th, 2029. And that's no control over ours, as long as you don't commit some other type of offense that extends that time. So you now only have roughly 4 years to get this programming done for not only the ease of other people, but yourself, as you have commented many times, that you feel like one thing that would help you would be a sex offender programming to help you learn to deal with these sexual offenses that you continually get into. Correct?
yes,
Because even while incarcerated, you continue to have several sexual misconducts where you're masturbating in front of female staff. Is that accurate?
yes,
You see my concern?
yes, I do.
So while you say you thought it would be better to wait for the board, I would guess that sex offender programming would have advised you otherwise. Is that correct?
I don't know because I never got to talk to anybody fully from the program.
Okay, have you talked to your case manager about some of these things?
No.
Okay, so you've just sat there.
The only thing I explained to her was I was waiting upon your guys' decision on what's happening.
And I would feel that since you've been here for so long, you would learn to be, what's the word I'm looking for? Proactive in getting into programming, because we're at the tail end. We're 3/4 of the way of your sentence through. Correct?
Yes, but I was also told I wouldn't be able to enter the program until 3 years prior to my rehearing to get into the SOTP program.
Well, we're
That's
at your
fine.
rehearing, right?
What's
And
that?
SOT, we're at your rehearing right now, and SOT told you you were eligible to get back in 2023.
Yes,
And that's my biggest concern, because you even have your own fears of reoffending when you're back out in the community. And regardless of what happens at this hearing today, you're going to be back in the community at the end of 2029. And you yourself feel like the best thing for you is going to participate in this sex offender program. And the board's not going to let you out without you completing the sex offender program.
I understand that.
Does that make sense?
Yes, and the
Do you
reason,
do you understand why I have concerns about that?
yes, and the reason I have thoughts of failing is because in the past I would say 20 odd years. Every time I do an SOTP program, it's everything works for everybody instead of it being set up for each individual instead of just everybody.
Okay, and with your sex offender programming, you typically have a therapist that also works with you, not just in the group setting, but also on a one-on-one setting. Correct?
Yes, yes.
And that's where it becomes individualized, is that one-on-one. To help you learn to identify what your triggers are, what causes you to continue to offend or sexually act out, and things like that. And then help you to work through those things to build coping skills, coping mechanisms that will help you in the future stop reoffending or stop acting out like you have been with your disciplinaries since you've been incarcerated. Are you with me?
Yes.
Okay. And you had several disciplinaries since the last time you met with the Board of Pardons, one which resulted in a new offense. The most recent is the end of November. So tell me what causes you to continue to have these sexual misconduct disciplinaries after your last hearing. Was your last hearing in 2013?
Yes.
After your last hearing, where I know the hearing officer addressed this situation then. Do you know what causes you to do that? Act out, knowing when female staff or nurses or whatever is going to be coming around?
As far as I have learned about myself, it's about power and gratification. But
Okay.
the deep underlining, I can never understand. I don't know where it all comes from.
Have you worked to develop tools that help you to prevent this from happening?
Those tools I never learned.
Okay. When are you planning on starting to learn, sir?
As soon as I get in the program
Okay.
and I can actually stay in it. Because every time I'm in the program, I end up failing for some stupid reason and I don't know why it happens.
You're like self-sabotaging reasons?
Yes.
Okay. Sir, what I'm gonna do, is I'm gonna have the victim give their statement at this point. While they're doing that, I'm just gonna ask that you listen. And then once I've been given that statement, I'm gonna ask you what your thoughts are in regard to that, okay?
Yes.
If you want to sit at that desk over there, because if you sit at one of these, the camera will zoom in on you. Then I'm gonna have you state your name for the record, and then I'm gonna put you on, okay?
My name is Afton Warren.
Okay, go ahead and raise your right hand for me. Do you swear and affirm the information you're about to provide to me is truthful and accurate?
Yes.
Okay, what would you like me to know?
I am one of Michael's NELDER's CSA victims in court. My mother vowed to be at every parole hearing to make sure he stays behind bars. While I appreciate her tenaciousness, this is my fight, and I can't expect her to wield the shield around me forever. It is my duty to pick up that shield even if my legs wobble. This statement is to share with all of you the profound and lasting effects the abuse done by Michael has had on me. I don't remember exactly how old I was when it began, but I know it happened repeatedly. I lived with the shame, the fear, the burden of keeping the secret that I was told to keep from my parents and my siblings. I thought I had no choice. I was told I was too young to understand and that no one would believe me, and that if I spoke up, things would get only worse for me. While I did get justice, but he was right off getting worse for me. The pain of those weeks is something I still carry with me. It isn't until I was 20 that I began to heal. When I started to confront the things that I had repressed over those weeks to survive, I pushed them so deep in my mind that I can only remember being scared of my abuser, terrified to the point where I finally broke down and told someone. By then, so many of my memories were buried within me. The truth is I always will carry this trauma. The scars are deep, and while they may fade with time, they will never fully disappear. I will always live with the aftermath of the abuse I suffered. For the first time, I am reclaiming my voice. I am no longer the quiet, scared little girl I once was. This is not just my fight, it is for every person who has been hurt in the way I was. This crime has profoundly affected every aspect of my life. It has left me feeling vulnerable, emotionally drained, and physically diminished. The impact has been far-reaching and will continue to shape my future in the ways I never anticipated. I hope that this statement helps others and understands the depth and the harm that I have experienced. Thank you for hearing my story.
Thank you. That statement that she just stated was also submitted to the board and was sent to your case manager to be disclosed to you, because that was read now on the record. We don't have to worry about waiving notice or anything, sir, but what would you like me to know at this point?
That I'm deeply sorry for what I've done. I take full responsibility, no fault to her. And I thought I was doing so well in my life, and I just let everything in my past catch up to me. I just have no excuses or nothing for what I've done. It's just not right. This is why all my life I've been trying to find out why I do what I do, and it's never worked. I still don't understand what I do. Again, I fully apologize for what I've done, and when I first entered prison, I was glad I actually came here because it's where I belong for what I've done.
Thank you, sir. Sir, that sex offender treatment memo was submitted in October 16th, 2024, and should have been sent a copy to you. Did you receive that copy?
Yes.
What were your thoughts on that treatment memo? The information within, the recommendations, things like that.
I believe and trust everything that was in that memo.
Okay. My advice to you, sir, because I do believe that you want to figure out what's going on with yourself. The fact that you're acknowledging that you know you're a risk and you have concerns of reoffending is a positive, because you're acknowledging that there is something going on that you need to address and that needs to be addressed. My advice to you is to contact sex offender programming and get in as soon as possible. Because again, I don't think the board is going to parole you without not having completed that program. I wish you would have completed it prior to this, or at least been in it by the date that you were able to get back in of April 26, 2023, so that we could have had more of an in-depth conversation about your tendencies, your triggers, your coping skills, what you've learned about yourself, what you can look forward to moving forward, or what your confidence level would be moving forward with the potential of not reoffending. Because again, in 2029, you're done with the system. And I know you've talked about yourself sabotaging because you are worried about getting out too early. But the reality is, in your case, there is a finish line. You are going to be out in society no matter what in 2029, given there are no other offenses that would add on to that time frame. So we've got to get that started. We've got to get that figured out so that there can be somewhat of a peace of mind, which may never be a full peace of mind with you being out in the community, but at least there will be something that's going to explore some of the concerns that you have, as well as the rest of us have, with your offending that you've had over your lifetime. Do you have any comments, questions, or anything else you feel like the board needs to know at this point?
No.
With that, sir, what I plan on doing is taking the information we discussed today, compiling that into a report and submitting that to the board. You're well aware the board is the one who makes the final decision. It usually takes about 2 to 4 weeks for them to get that decision out to you. You had a 10-month guideline that was added into your, because of that charge, which is past the 2023 for that attempted assault charge that you received in the last few years. But your expiration date for these charges is 20 years, which puts you at December 28th, 2029. I'm not going to beat that dead horse anymore. We already all know what that means. So please get into contact the sex offender program. Their recommendation is you don't get the opportunity to parole until you've completed sex offender programming while incarcerated. The board is going to weigh heavily on that assessment. So again, I don't see you being paroled at this point until you have potentially completed that sex offender program, okay?
Yes.
So I appreciate the attendance that we had today. Acknowledge that the victim's family is here. Appreciate the statement that you gave. I know it's not easy coming here, having to relive that every single time we have one of these hearings. So with that, we'll go ahead and conclude this hearing. Thank you, good luck to you, and have a good day. This is the time and place set for an original hearing for Thomas Norton, inmate 243289. Is that you, sir?
Yes, yes.
I'm Kathleen. I'm a hearing officer with the Board of Pardons and Parole. I'll be conducting your hearing today. Because I'll be taking testimony, I'll have you raise your right hand for me so I can place you under oath. Do you swear and affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes,
Thank you, sir. Sir, did you receive 7 days' notice of this hearing along with your blue packet?
I did.
Did you have a chance to review that?
I did.
Did you have any questions on it?
Nothing on the blue packet.
Okay. So your hearing was originally smart scheduled out, which means you were given a later hearing in order to complete sex offender programming. This was back in 2020. We received a special attention at some point in 2022 stating that because you are because your crimes were committed online, there's really no type of risk assessment for that. And your type of cases aren't typically provided programming really while incarcerated. And so that was eventually, the sex offender component was eventually removed from that due to the requirements per the Utah Department of Corrections request. I do see that you completed pre-treatment, however, back in 2023, which once we have gone over your original offense, I want to ask you a little more about, okay?
Okay.
So I'm going to go over your committing offenses. In case 181403082, you were convicted of 5 second-degree felonies, sexual exploitation of a minor. And in case 191400842, you were convicted of 5 second-degree felonies, sexual exploitation of a minor. Now, it looks like the reasoning for these is because you were found to be in possession of many images and videos of sexually explicit children that were found on your computer. These images were of children in many different sexual positions and stages of undress. Now, this was a very long report that had several descriptions depicting the type of pictures that were involved. So I only put a couple in my report, and I'm only going to go over a couple. The videos involved adult men engaging in different sexual acts with female children. Some of the videos involved torture as well, where a female child's vagina is bleeding, and while she is crying for a man to stop what he is doing, he continues to insert different objects into her. Is this accurate information regarding having many different pictures and videos depicting children in sexually explicit images and whatnot?
Yes.
Okay. Tell me what led to these offenses, sir.
Essentially, it was my own choices and an inability to cope with a depressive disorder. I chose to cope with it in the worst way possible, turning to a addiction that is, it started out as addiction to adult pornography. And just prior to the investigations, it turned into child pornography once I found access to it.
Now, is this something that just developed while you were looking at pornography, or have you been attracted to younger children? Tell me a little more about that.
Essentially, it was while I was addicted to the pornography itself.
Okay.
It,
How long had you been looking at the child pornography?
it really wasn't long at all. I'd say less than, I wouldn't even say a couple months.
Okay. And was there any time while you were viewing this type of pornography that it came into your mind that this wasn't appropriate?
Every time I did.
So what caused you to keep coming back?
Essentially, it was really just another part of the addiction to pornography. Sorry, my words are not working today. It was the addiction to pornography, along with the fact that it was something new. And in the moment, I did feel a thrill at finding something that I shouldn't have. And I know that it was wrong.
Okay. What are your, do you have sexual interest in children at all?
No.
So you've completed pre-treatment. You had completed pre-treatment. Was there anything you learned in there?
Yes.
Tell me about that. What did you learn that's beneficial to you?
I feel like the key components that I picked up was how to really identify red flags to my addiction. I was able to really figure out what were some of the things that triggered me going into the addiction of pornography in general, and then what led to me going into the child pornography specifically. And once I was able to figure out those red flags, I was also able to learn the proper ways to be able to deal with that through cognitive tools like, let's see, There's the deep breathing. It's essentially ways to stop the addiction in its tracks.
What
through
are some of
any-
the tools you learned?
Some of the tools that I learned were like deep breathing, seeking support from trusted ones. Let's see. Moving on to something else, asking for help. There was also, journaling was another really big one. And seeking help through therapy as well, continued therapy.
Okay. If you are paroled, sir, what is that going to look like for you? What are your plans?
It really depends on where I'm allowed to go. If I can find a place to stay here in Utah, then my plan is to continue therapy. And in order to be able to sustain that, I'll be gaining an occupation either at a family friend's restaurant or at an electrical company as an apprentice, which is what I used to do before. Along with that, I'm going to try and maintain a healthier lifestyle than I had back when I committed the crime. And part of that involves increasing my education as well. And so I'll be trying to find a way to go back to college as well, which a family friend of mine is the UVU culinary arts instructor. And he said that as long as I'm willing to go, he'll find a place for me there.
Okay.
But if I'm not able to find a place here in Utah, then I have so much support down in Arizona. A place to stay, possible work for my uncle's plumbing company, not to mention, like I said, a lot of family support, and I do mean a lot.
Yeah, I received several letters of support in your case, so we got a bunch of those for sure. So I do believe you've got a lot of positive support, which is good. When it comes to the aftercare, sex offender aftercare stuff, because it does recommend that you seek some type of sex offender aftercare, some types of sex offender programming when you are paroled. Have you had a chance, or any of your supports had a chance to look into any of that stuff?
Yes, in fact, Suncrest Counseling has already accepted me into the program once I'm out. But
Is that a Utah program?
it is, yes. But if that one doesn't work out, then we are more than willing to search out other programs.
Is Suncrest sex specific?
Yes, yes it is. Although I'm not sure if they specifically focus on my type of crime, the internet crimes.
I'm guessing, and I'm not a therapist, but that if it's individual counseling, they can probably adapt things to your specific needs. You will have sex offender aid conditions, which ultimately means the biggest thing is that you won't be allowed to be around children. Is that going to be an issue?
It shouldn't be. I don't believe so.
Or really anywhere where children congregate. So when you're seeking a job, places where children congregate, you wouldn't be able to probably go to as far as work-related things, if that makes sense.
It does.
Have you had any type of substance abuse addiction in the past?
No substance abuses at all. Although I did take a substance abuse course in here, mainly because it was recommended to me because of the cognitive therapy tools that it could provide.
Okay. And then, do you have any mental health diagnoses, sir?
I'm honestly not sure. I don't remember if I ever did as a child. I do know that we were looking into ADHD when I was growing up, but I don't remember if it was officially diagnosed.
Do you feel like you have any mental health conditions or anything? Depression, anxiety, anything like that?
I know that I did when I first came home from my mission, but I
Okay.
feel like I've definitely gained a lot of tools to help me with that. I also used to take medication for it as well, but I feel like I'm at a state now where I can handle it without the medication.
Okay. Do you feel like there's anything that would prevent you from being able to have a successful parole?
Nothing comes to mind.
Okay. We've already talked a lot about programming. Is there anything else in programming that you feel like was a benefit to you in helping you, regarding your situation and your offenses?
I would say any of the life skills that I did, most of them actually did have focused on the cognitive recovery. And so thinking for a change or MRT, along with a lot of the vocationals that I also did, I felt like those helped me to learn how to develop a healthy, just kind of a healthy lifestyle in general. Well, healthier than it was.
Okay. And I do show you don't have any disciplinaries. Is that still accurate?
Yes.
Overall for you, sir, what do you feel like has changed the most in hopes that when you do get back out into the community that something like this won't happen again?
I feel like the biggest thing that has changed for me is my ability to actually ask for help. When I first committed this crime, I self-isolated and I didn't let anyone in on the fact that anything was even wrong. This came as a complete shock to everyone. And so now I feel like I've been able to move past that, and I've learned to actually start to reach out and ask for help when I need it.
Okay. Sir, is there anything else you feel like the board needs to know or you would like the board to know at this point?
No, I don't believe so.
Okay. What I plan on doing is taking the information we discussed today, excuse me, compiling that into a report and submitting that to the board. The board is made up of 5 members. It takes a majority vote for them to make a decision in your case. Usually takes about 2 to 4 weeks for them to get that decision out to you. With the amount of supports you have that sent letters in and things, I'm assuming that there are probably some people that are actually viewing this hearing today online.
Yes.
If they would like to go on to bop.utah.gov, once a decision has been made, it will be posted there. So they would probably be able to see that decision before you did, because you'll actually get a physical copy of it, and then they would be able to give you the information.
That's
You
great.
do have a 76-month guideline, which puts you at June 4th, 2025. That guideline is what it is. It's just a guideline, meaning that they could come back or that they can go below that, on that, or past that, depending on if they do want to see something completed prior to that date. You do have a 15-year top, which puts you at February 20th, 2034. Now, before we close really quick, we received a full sex offender assessment from sex offender programming on January 15th, 2025. That assessment was conducted so that we had a full information on what a sex offender programming would encourage you or would recommend for you to complete, which we talked a little bit about. Did anybody talk to you about that assessment, sir?
The results of it, or?
Just about the assessment, the recommendation, things like that.
Not really. Honestly, I didn't even know the assessment. Yeah, sorry. I didn't know
You're
that the
fine.
assessment was going to happen.
Did they come in and talk to you about the assessment?
Not really.
It would have been recently. So
Over the phone.
were you able to receive a copy of it?
Yes. Oh, okay. I see what you mean. I thought you meant like describing what the assessment meant and what it was for.
Oh, no.
Yes, he did come. Well, it was over the phone, and
Yeah.
we were able to talk.
And the reason was your case was in an interesting time where they kind of stopped doing the sex offender programming for certain groups, and you kind of fell into that, which is
Hmm.
also why you were able to complete pre-treatment, because at some point they even stopped doing that. So we had reached out and asked for a full assessment with more information, which they were able to get us just last week. And so I just wanted to make sure that you had received a copy of that and that you had had a chance to review that as well.
Yes. Yes. I have.
Okay. So with that, sir, if there are no other questions, we will go ahead and conclude this hearing, okay?
Actually, I was wondering about a few things.
Go ahead.
These are just in the event that the board does allow me to be able to go out and do parole on the outside with the program. I was just curious, let's see. So you already explained what the stipulations would be. Do you know, would there be any stipulations that would stop me from being able to go to college?
I don't think so, but that would be something that you would probably need to talk to your agent about. They would have more information on that. I know that there are sometimes programs for individuals. I just don't know what the parameters are of that. I don't know if you have to be off paper. I don't know if you can be on paper. So your agent would have, and maybe even the transition team there would have more information about that.
Okay.
I know it's helpful and unhelpful at the same time with that answer.
It's still an answer. That's all right. Also, do you know, besides not working in an area where minors congregate or are, do you know if there would be any other stipulations for that?
There
For-
will be, and your agent will give you all of the information for that. They'll give you a printout of all of your sex offender conditions and conditions that the board will give you for your parole.
All right. Let's see if there's anything that doesn't cover. Do you know if I'll still be able to visit family from out of state?
So with that, again, probation or parole is going to be the best one. Typically, if you are going to go out of state, you'll have to submit an interstate compact travel permit.
Hmm.
And that your agent would be able to help you and discuss more with you about.
Okay. Who would be the transition officer that you're talking about? Is that the same thing as a caseworker or?
So those are the people that are going to help you get ready for transitioning if you are paroled. Your case manager should be able to give you some of that information. But again, that's all through the prison. The board doesn't handle any of that stuff.
Okay, that makes sense.
So in a nutshell, your best friend is going to be your agent.
That's what it sounds like. Okay. I think that pretty much covers everything. Thank you.
All right, sir. With that, we will go ahead and conclude this hearing. Good luck to you and have a good day.
Thank you.
On the record. This is a rescission hearing for Clayton Rowley, number 217752. Is that you, sir?
Yes.
My name's Scott Manning. I'm a hearing officer with the Board of Pardons and Parole I'll be conducting today. I am going to be taking testimony from you. If you'd raise your right hand, I'll swear you in. Do you swear that the testimony you provide today will be the truth?
Yes.
Thank you. Did you receive at least 7 days written notice of today's hearing along with your blue disclosure packet?
Yes.
So I'm going to give you an opportunity to bring up any issues or errors with that disclosure packet. Obviously, that's the new information since your most recent hearing, which was just a couple months ago. But I'm going to give a review of what's happened. I have some questions for you. I think you have a couple disciplinaries. I'm talking generally about the treatment contingency that you've not been able to meet, and then we'll discuss any questions or concerns that you have for me after that.
All right.
Looks like you had a parole granted in March, after a March 2023 parole violation original hearing. It was originally for December 2024. It was contingent on sex offender treatment program completion. That date was rescinded in May of 2024 due to, looks like you were not able to complete it before that parole date. You didn't have enough time. So it was rescinded due to that. But then after that, you had self-removed from the program. You and I conducted a hearing a few months ago and discussed that issue specifically. After that hearing that we did in July of 2024, the board granted parole of June 10th, 2025. It was contingent on completing sex offender treatment. That date was calculated, I believe, as far as the report we had received from the Department of Corrections to provide enough time to complete the program. You and I discussed your willingness to do that at that time. In August of 2024, the Department of Corrections reported that you'd not be eligible to reapply until September, and then that would not allow enough time to complete the program by the June 10th date. It also said you were not willing to re-enroll and would like to request a termination. That day was rescinded due to that report. You had another rescission hearing in October, on the 1st of October 2024. After that hearing, the board granted the June 3rd, 2025 parole. Again, it was made contingent on completing SOTP. Per my calculations, I don't believe that was sufficient time to complete that, but nonetheless. In November 25th, 2025, we received a report. It said you had received a disciplinary for A13. It said you had homemade alcohol found inside a protein container in your property. The board rescinded the June 3rd, 2025 parole date due to that disciplinary. So that brings us to today. I'd like to quickly talk about, you have two new disciplinaries. The first was October 3rd, 2024. I think it said there was unauthorized use of phones. What happened during this incident?
My dad's currently on his deathbed. And I didn't have money on my account to make a phone call, so I used someone else's account with their permission, and that's not allowed here in this jail. He was in,
I'm aware of that.
Yeah, he was in the Ogden Regional Hospital or the Huntsman Cancer Institute.
Yeah, I reviewed the written submissions that you submitted prior to the most recent hearing, discussing your father's health concerns, etc. Just so you know, I'm aware of that and don't want to cut you off, but do want to talk about the issues that led to this current hearing. So if I'm understanding correctly, did not have money on your books. You wanted to speak with your father. Therefore, you used another inmate's account to make that phone call, correct?
Yes.
Okay, the next write-up, November 2nd, 2024. This was the write-up that led to today's hearing. Looks like you had homemade alcohol in a protein container was found while you were being rolled up or moved. Your property was moving to a different housing section. Were you drinking alcohol at the time?
No.
Why did you have the alcohol on your property?
It wasn't even alcohol at the point, but the officer that found it said that its consistency was for making alcohol because there was bread or cornmeal next to the protein container. And
you deny that you were making homemade alcohol, brew, hooch, whatever it was called in the report. You deny that you were making that?
Yeah. And they still found me guilty of it. So
yeah, certainly that's why we're here. You were found guilty of a disciplinary violation for having in your possession homemade alcohol in your property. So, but your statement is that you were not using alcohol, and you did not. This was not intended to be made into alcohol.
No.
Okay, but you had extra fruit in your property with bread. Is that what you were saying, or what was
fruit in a jar, and then there was cornmeal next to it in a bag that we were going to use to make tamales with, because it's like the most common thing that you can use to make tamales here in this jail.
Okay.
So
well, thank you for making your statement on that. That incident is the reason today's hearing was scheduled. So I think it's important that the board have a statement from you about what happened. Obviously, they'll have the official report for that disciplinary conviction as they're making a decision. I did want to check in. You've had multiple hearings. I conducted one of them. There's been multiple other hearings. After each of those hearings, the board has said it expects you to complete the sex offender treatment program. It's made paroles contingent on completing that. At this point, are you willing to do the program?
I literally will not be able to get back into the program due to that A13 write-up till, well, I can't reapply till February, which that is when the next group starts. So that's
Okay.
when I can reapply.
And is it still your understanding that it would take 9 months to complete the program?
10 months.
10 months?
Yeah.
Okay. And so back to the initial question, are you willing to do that? Just because at every other of the hearings, you said you're willing to do the program. The board has granted a parole contingent on it, and then you haven't gotten into the program. So do you have any, are you willing to do that? Do you have plans to do that? What's happening with that?
I'm at 16 months and some odd weeks till I expirate.
Correct.
By the time I can get into the program, it will be in June.
I said February, or you can apply in February, you get in June.
That's the next group is in February, so I can't necessarily get in the February group.
Okay.
So that puts me into the June group, which that's literally a year away from my expiration. And it takes me 10 months to complete the program, and it's 2 months from my expiration. So I'm like, there's not really a purpose in doing the program when I'm clear up to my expiration.
Okay. So the only reason you would do the program is to get a benefit of early release. You don't feel like you could benefit at all from the program?
Not really. I did the BRT in Beaver County Jail before I came to this jail. And it's literally the same program. As I could benefit from the Beaver County Jail BRT to here is literally the same programs, other than this is sexual based and the BRT is just cognitive behavioral.
Okay. And I'm just speaking here. I want to make sure the board has clear information as they're making a decision, because confusion and clear answers have led to confusion in past hearings. So you would not be willing to do the treatment program while incarcerated. If the board were inclined to grant a parole and allow you to do it at a halfway house, would you be willing to do that?
No, I will not.
Okay. Okay. Well, I think I have the information that I needed from you. Thank you for being patient so that I can provide the board with accurate information. I do want you to know I've read and reviewed all the statements you made at your past hearings. I've reviewed the written submissions, including the details regarding your family's medical situation, etc. But at this point in time, are there any other comments, questions, concerns that you'd like to bring up with me during the hearing, or anything else you'd like the board to know?
The only reason why I choose not to, like, if they gave me a chance to go out and do it in the halfway house, is because I literally was in the program doing everything I needed to be done to do, and the board still pulled my date, even though
you self-removed. You didn't have enough time to do that. I'm familiar with that. Unfortunately, you self-removed, which prevented you from the board adjusting that to give you enough time to do that. But certainly, there's been some communication issues that weren't allowed to give you the time to do that. Sorry to cut you off, but certainly there was that aspect of you self-removed. You took yourself out of the program out of frustration, which is also an aspect in that. But please continue if I'm sorry to cut you off.
So that was around the same time that I found out about my dad's health issues. With me going to a halfway house and doing a program in the halfway house, if he does go, they're not going to allow me to go and do the meetings with him, or do not the meetings, but his celebration of life or funeral or anything like that. So that is why I refused to do it in the halfway house.
Well, certainly that wouldn't be allowed if you don't communicate. Certainly with programming, getting expectations met, if you're great, on supervision, you have to communicate with people to get things approved. So if that communication was not there, that obviously could not be approved. But I'll note your comments for the board. We have about a minute left in our scheduled hearing. Is there anything else you'd like the board to know?
No.
Okay.
Just the only reason why I won't do it at the halfway house is I won't be able to go out of state to do the celebration of life for my father. So I'm just kind of like, let it take its toll. Whatever happens, happens. I have 16 months to expirate, you know, I just.
Okay.
Just want to get this behind me and move on, you know. I have criminal charges in Evanston, Wyoming that I still have to take care of in order to even go up there. If I do get caught up in the state, I'm getting arrested anyway, so.
Well, at this point, we are out of time. What I'll do from here, thank you for your comments. I will include those. I've put together a report of what I reviewed before today's hearing. I'll include what you and I talked about at today's hearing in that report. I'll submit it to the members of the board. They'll consider your case as a whole, where we stand 16 months out from expiration, as you said, and they'll make a decision on what's appropriate from there.
Okay.
It usually takes between 2 to 4 weeks for a decision to be made. It will be sent to you in writing through the mail, and it will also be posted to the board's website if there's anyone in the community that would like to access it there. So with that, Mr. Rowley, thank you for being here and discussing these things with me. I do wish you the best of luck moving forward, and we'll go ahead and conclude.
Okay, thank you.
On record.
This is an original hearing for Stephen Wold, number 228366. Is that you, sir?
Yes, sir.
My name's Scott Manning. I'm a hearing officer with the Utah Board of Pardons and Parole, and I'll be conducting today's hearing. I am going to be taking testimony from you. Mr. Wold, if you'd raise your right hand, I'll swear you in. Do you swear that the testimony you provide today will be truthful and accurate?
Yes, I do.
Thank you. I do want to recognize victim of record, Brooke Taggart, who we have here with us today. Thank you for being here, Brooke. I'll be receiving testimony from Brooke here in just a few minutes, and I'll let you know when we are ready for that. Mr. Wold, did you receive at least 7 days written notice of today's hearing along with your blue disclosure packet?
Yes, I did.
So that disclosure packet contains the information that the board will be considering as they make a decision in your case. Part of the purpose of today's hearing is to allow you to point out any errors or inaccuracies with that information. I'm going to be going over quite a bit of that with you today. I have some questions about various things, but at this point in time, are there any errors or inaccuracies that you'd like to discuss with me?
I don't believe so.
Okay. So how I'd like to proceed First, I'm going to give a brief overview of your case, conviction, sentence, your parole guideline date, a little bit about how today's hearing works. Second, we'll review the case in which you were committed to prison, the facts of what happened in that case. Third, we will have the victim impact statement. You will be able to respond to that statement if you'd like to after it's made. From there, I have some questions that I've prepared for you about what you've been doing since you arrived at the facility, your plans looking forward, etc. And then at the end of the hearing, I will give you, Mr. Wold, the final word, and you can state anything else you'd like to on the record. Does that sound okay to you?
Yes, sir.
Your commitment offense is aggravated sexual abuse of a child, first-degree felony. You're serving a sentence of between 15 years and up to life in prison. Based on my calculations, the minimum 15-year sentence will pass on November 27th of 2032. Your parole guideline, as established by the Utah Sentencing Commission based on this conviction, calls for 192 months incarceration. That guideline or recommended release date would lead to you being released on November 27th of 2033. The board is not bound by the guidelines in these cases. They act as a guideline or a starting point in the analysis. After today's hearing, the board will consider all relevant factors in this case to determine the appropriateness of a release, and if so, the timing, conditions, and contingencies of any such release. The factors that they will consider include the nature of your offenses, your criminal history, victim input and impact, your rehabilitative progress, etc. The case in which you're committed to prison is case 151402839. Originally, charges were filed in this case related to two separate victims. I believe a jury found you guilty of the charge related to one of those victims, but not guilty related to the charges involving a second victim. I note this, that there was a pre-sentence report that we received. The official summary in that pre-sentence report included behavior regarding both of these individuals. I believe at the objection of defense, an amended pre-sentence report was submitted, which includes only the behavior involving the victim of record in that conviction. I just note that we have both in our file and that the board has access to. As to the conviction, the abuse was reported in August of 2015. At that time, the victim was 15 years old and you were 26. The abuse in this case occurred in 2010 when the victim was 10 years old and you were 21 years old. You were the victim's uncle. The victim and her younger brother were dropped off to be watched by you at your residence. While sitting on the couch watching TV, you sat the victim on your lap and covered you and the victim with a blanket. You then put your hands into the victim's pants and underwear, making skin-to-skin contact. The report says you, quote, felt and pet the victim's vagina during this incident. Looks like at the time of the pre-sentence report, you did not admit guilt. You said you were planning to appeal. In the board packet that you submitted to us, I've reviewed your written submission. In the fall of 2010, I was babysitting my niece and nephew. I put a blanket over my niece while she was sitting on my lap. I reached my hand inside of her underwear and rubbed her vagina with my fingers. Is that summary accurate as to what happened in the case?
Yes, sir.
Would you like to make any further comments about the events or the abuse that occurred in this case?
No, sir.
And what led to you engaging in this behavior?
I made stupid choices. I had an addiction to pornography and I didn't seek help. I let my addictions grow, and it led me to act out sexually in a manner I'm ashamed of.
Based on my review of the file, no restitution was requested or ordered. Based on your date of sentencing, the Board of Pardons does retain jurisdiction, I believe, to make restitution orders upon a request that's made and the proof the process is followed. Would you be willing to pay any restitution that is ordered in this case?
Yes, sir.
Okay. This time we'll move forward with the victim impact statement. Brooke, are you ready at this time to provide your statement?
Yes.
So you don't need to turn on your camera, but if you'd raise your right hand and just let me know when it's raised, I'll swear you in.
It is raised.
Do you swear that the testimony you provide today will be truthful and accurate?
Yes.
Thank you. And just so you know, thank you for attending today's hearing. The docket in the case noted that various statements were made at sentencing, but we've not been provided with that information. So thank you for being here and providing a statement. I'll take notes of what you say today. I may listen to today's hearing tomorrow to make sure the board members have a summary of that. But Brooke, you may proceed when you're ready.
Thank you. I am speaking to you today as the victim of child sex abuse, the crime which was perpetrated by my uncle, Stephen Wold. This is incredibly difficult for me to put into words and speak about these terrible events that I've had to endure because of Stephen. While this may be difficult to discuss and relive, it is even more important that Stephen does not receive parole and instead carries out his sentence in custody. I'm not saying this out of hatred or revenge. My only hope is that justice continues to be served and Stephen's actions are met with the gravity that they deserve. I'm deeply concerned about Stephen being released at this time due to his risk to the community. I know that there are more victims of Stephen out there besides my sister and myself. There will be more victims if he is released. Stephen will go back to his wife, who is an elementary school teacher, and will go back to his favorite hangout spots, which include children's arcades. While Stephen may seem like a model prisoner on paper, and he may only be in custody on his first offense, don't let the actions of a convicted felon sway your judgment as to who he really is. A pedophile who will reoffend if given the opportunity. There is a reason Stephen agreed to serve the maximum 15-year sentence of his actions, because he would rather hide behind the whole truth, a truth that he has yet to confess to. Stephen may tell you that he is a changed man, that he has found Jesus, and he claims to have repented for his actions. He can pray all day, but you can't pray pedophilia away. I trust that the parole board will take my words into consideration along with all other evidence as you make this critical decision. My greatest hope is to believe in the justice system is working to protect victims like me. The last thing I would want to happen is for him to reoffend and for another person to be in the same seat that I am in right now. And you, as the parole board, hold that power. Please prevent future child abuse from happening.
Thank you, Brooke, for being here and providing your statement. I've taken some notes. I'll listen to your statement tomorrow, and the board will have access to that recording as well, the 5 board members, as they're making a decision in this case. Mr. Wold, would you like to provide a brief response?
Yes, I would. I know I'm not supposed to address her, so I'd just say I hope that she can have the healing that she needs. I am remorseful for the actions that I did. I was living in a life of secrecy, of hypocrisy, and I can only imagine the pain that I put her through hearing that response that she said. And I am sorry for the pain I've caused to her and her family, to my family. I have no desire to reoffend, but I understand that I had hurt her, and I understand that she wants for justice to be done. And I do pray for her. I pray for her sister. I pray for her family and my family as well.
Well, I will note your comments as well in my report for the board. I note, as far as your history, you have no past criminal convictions outside of this case. Is that correct?
There was one Class C misdemeanor from the BYU Police Department.
That was dismissed. Is that correct?
That's correct, sir. Okay. But that's all.
And you've never been supervised in the community. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And you've reported you've never used abused drugs or alcohol in your past. Is that accurate?
That's accurate.
Note, since arriving at the prison in December of 2017, you've successfully completed many life skills classes, MRT, victim impact. I think you're in currently the Kane County Substance Use Treatment Program. Based on your written submissions, I think You've discussed this as focusing on addiction to pornography, also hoping to develop coping strategies regarding depression, anxiety, stress. The reports from the prison, the Utah Department of Corrections say you're progressing in that program, but what have you learned in the classes or programs that you've taken?
So I guess the biggest thing that I've learned is that addiction thrives in secrecy. That was one of the biggest things that I've learned to me, and that I need to be able to recognize my warning signs and my triggers. I need to have a good support group and to lean on them, to ask for help and to share when I'm struggling, to share when I'm having successes, just open communication with my loved ones. And I'm blessed with a good support group. And so what I've learned is I do have addictions. I do need to work on them and be aware of them. And I need to be honest with my parole officer, with my wife, with my parents, of things when they are going wrong that I need help. And I've learned some coping strategies for when I get anxious, for when I get depressed, for when I'm lonely or feel just feeling down. And I've learned that the higher power, which for me is God, is essential in my growth and in my spiritual well-being.
I do note you've not taken any sex offense treatment specifically at this time. Documents in the file discuss you reaching out to that program, attempting to get into the program. The documents state, I think you were placed on the tracking list. It was explained generally this original hearing is to have an initial appearance on the case. After the hearing, generally the board will set expectations for treatment moving forward. Right, they'll make considerations as far as timing regarding the minimum, legal minimum sentence, the maximum sentence, the guidelines will be used in the timing of that. After today's hearing, I think there will be some direction on that. At the board, the Department of Corrections has internal risk assessments that result in certain programs. So it could be possible the board sets an expectation that you complete all that is recommended. There's various things they could do, but it sounds like you're willing to complete any sex offense treatment that is ordered. Is that accurate?
Absolutely.
Okay. And like I said, we have not received a thorough, full sex offense risk assessment at this time. I believe really the minimum sentence that you're serving, the timing of things is probably the reason for that. We did receive a original hearing risk assessment that's based on demographic factors of your age, history, offense type. There's various non-changing factors that result in risk assessments. We have that. But generally, there's more thorough, detailed assessments involving specific evaluators, discussing things personally with you, etc. It's possible that the board would order at a future time a sex offense assessment to get further input about treatment and what's appropriate in your case. It's also, like I said, I think it's possible the board could just make a decision on those things with what we have, but just wanted that information out there. And it sounds like you'd be willing to comply and participate in such an assessment. Is that accurate?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I note you do not have any disciplinary violations. The institutional progress report lists 12 positive C notes, 1 negative. It reports housing staff having no issues or problems with your behavior and attitude. It lists many jobs that you've had since you arrived at the facility. I believe in all of those jobs, you've received good or excellent ratings. So I'll include that information in my report to the board. If in the future, if at some point, if and when you are granted parole, I have your written submissions about release plans, what that would look like as far as where you plan to live, work, treatment. But if you are granted parole, what would that look like in your mind?
It'd be a blessing, number one. In my mind, it would be I go live with my wife. We have a home in Orem, Utah. I'd go live with her. I would try to get work back at Thrive Nursery, which is where I worked for the 2 previous years up until my incarceration as a CDL driver. And my boss has already told me he'd accept me back, Ryan McCann. And so I would like to work there. I also worked at Burton Lumber because that's about a 9-month-a-year job with them, the snow winter time being off because it's a landscape business. I would work for Burton Lumber in Linden that's right next to my home. And I left them in good standing there. They were good to me. I was good to them as an employee. So I'd be working as a CDL driver again. And I would stay local in Utah. I'd want to be home each night with my wife. I'd be back involved with the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. I would be attending any counseling. I've been attending the 12-step program since I came into incarceration and attending the Alcoholics Anonymous here as well because it gives me a chance to work on my addiction, and they've been welcoming to that. So I'd be going through therapy. I'd be going to the 12-step. I'd be working. I'd be with my wife. I'd try to have a family with her. And I'd do anything that the board asked that my parole officer would ask. I'd go by those agreements because I want to get a second chance and to show that I am not the man who committed that offense, that I am not the same man, who committed that offense.
I do note I reviewed various letters of support from family members, your parents, wife, aunts, friends. I've put together a summary of those things, and the board will consider those as they're making a decision. I do note if and when you are granted parole, it will likely include, almost certainly, it will include Group A sex offender conditions. That includes, but is not limited to, completing all recommended sex offense treatment, abiding by a curfew as ordered, having no victim contact without prior approval from adult probation and parole, having no contact or association with children under the age of 18 without proper approvals from supervisors and therapists, not enter places where children congregate or are reasonably expected to be, not possess sexual stimulus material, submit to random polygraphs, have employment and residences approved, etc. There's more, but those are some of the core concepts of those conditions. Is that something you'd be willing to abide by?
100%.
And how's your mental health currently?
It's good. It's difficult being down in a county jail to not have my visits, my in-person visits with my wife, my parents, and other loved ones. That part's difficult, but we have a good ward. The program's a good thing here, and my mental health is doing well.
Okay. Well, those are the questions that I have for you. What else would you like the Board of Pardons to know?
I'd just like them to know that my addiction thrived because of the secrecy. That's where my addiction led to pornography and then led to me acting out sexually to harm my niece. And what I'd like the Board of Pardons to know is that I'm committed to living a life that is going to be loving, that is going to be kind, that's going to be a good community member, that I want to be supportive, and I will follow whatever conditions they ask of me, because I want to prove to them and my loved ones that I'm safe to be around, and that I do believe in the atonement of Jesus Christ and the ability to be forgiven of my sins. That's what I want them to know.
Okay. What I'll do from here is take your case under advisement. I've put together a report of what I reviewed before today's hearing. I'll include what's been discussed at today's hearing into that report, and then I'll submit that to the members of the board. There's 5 members of the board. They ultimately will make the decision by a majority vote. That usually takes, we say, up to 2 to 4 weeks. Sometimes it's a few days. Sometimes it's quicker than other times. It can take up to a few weeks. When the decision is made, we will send that decision in writing to you, Mr. Wold, through the mail. And for anyone in the community that would like access to that decision, it will be posted to the Board of Pardons website. And certainly anyone can call our offices to, we can walk through what the decision means or what is included in that decision. That's how we will proceed. With that, thank you to everyone who's participated in today's hearing. This is an original hearing for JAYCE CROOK number 242772. Is that you, sir?
Yes, sir.
My name's Scott Manning. I'm a hearing officer with the Utah Board of Pardons and Parole, and I'll be conducting today's hearing. I am going to be taking testimony from you today. If you'd raise your right hand, I'll swear you in. Do you swear that the testimony you provide today will be truthful and accurate?
Yes.
Thank you. I do want to recognize victim of record, Sadie Jones, who we have here with us in the hearing. She will be providing testimony in just a few minutes. Thank you for being here, Sadie. I'll let you know when we're ready for that statement.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Crook, did you receive your at least 7 days written notice of today's hearing along with your blue disclosure packet?
Yes, I did.
Okay. I do want to note that today, just this morning, the Board of Pardons and Parole received from the Department of Corrections a sex offender treatment program discharge summary. It's dated January 9th of 2025. It was prepared by Mr. Jared Hill. Based on what I'm seeing in our records, we sent a copy of that to you just today, recently. Did you receive that document?
I received it yesterday, yes.
Oh, you received it yesterday. I didn't get it till this morning, so you got it yesterday. So you have the right to receive and review that document with sufficient time. We say a week to be prepared to talk about it. If you'd like to, we can postpone today's hearing to give you further time to review it. Or if you're willing to waive further disclosure, we can proceed today. How would you like to waive disclosure? Okay. And part of the purpose, so that blue disclosure packet, along with the sex offender treatment program discharge summary, that's the information that the board will be considering as they make a decision in your case. I'm planning to go over much of that information with you. So basically, to give a rundown, what I'm going to do is start by giving an overview of your case. So your conviction, sentence, your guideline date. We'll talk about how today's hearing works. After that, I plan to review the case in which you were committed to prison. We'll briefly talk about what happened in that case. From there, we'll have the victim impact statement, and you will be able to respond to that statement if you'd like to. After that, I have some questions for you about what you've been doing in the facility, your plans moving forward. And then at the end of the hearing, I'll give you the final word and you can state anything else you'd like to. But part of the purpose of today's hearing is to allow you to point out any errors or inaccuracies with that blue disclosure packet that we sent to you. At this time, are there any errors that you'd like to discuss with me?
No.
Okay. Your commitment offense is rape, felony 2. You're serving a sentence of between 1 and up to 15 years in prison. As of now, that sentence will expire on February 4th of 2035. So that is the maximum amount of time that the board retains jurisdiction over your case. Your parole guideline calls for 64 months. That is established by the Utah Sentencing Commission based on your conviction, your criminal history, a few factors that go into that. That's a recommended release date. According to that guideline, you would be released on June 4th of 2025. The board is not bound by that guideline. After today's hearing, they will consider your case as a whole with all relevant mitigating and aggravating factors to decide if a release is appropriate, and if so, the timing, conditions, contingencies of any such release. I do note that in February of 2022, the board did what's referred to as a SMART scheduling order. At that time, they scheduled today's hearing. They asked for a sex offender treatment program memo, and they noted an expectation that you complete all available and recommended sex offender treatment and substance abuse treatment as well. Excuse me. Okay. And it looks like in January of January 21st, 2025, so 2 days ago, the board recognized an earned time credit because you did complete the sex offender treatment program. So that brings us to today. The case we need to talk about is case 191100614. In the pre-sentence report, it contains the official summary of that case. It says in February of 2019, the victim reported that you had raped her in July of 2018. At that time, you were 22 years old and the victim was 14 years old. The pre-sentence report summary of the case says that your girlfriend was in the shower and you entered the victim's room. You touched the victim's side and took off her clothes. You then took off your clothes and told the victim not to tell anyone. The report says you raped the victim and then left the room. The pre-sentence report says another incident occurred while you were camping as well. The pre-sentence report seems to describes these two incidents as vaginal intercourse. The report says the victim's mother confronted you about this and you admitted to having sex with the victim, quote, but stated it was not rape. I've reviewed your pre-sentence report statement as well as your statement that you provided in the Board of Pardons packet to us, but is that summary that I just provided for you, is that accurate as to what happened in the case?
Yes.
Okay. And what led to you engaging in this behavior at this time?
I was immature and I wasn't thinking about my consequences or the whole ripple effects that it could have caused, which I know now.
How do you mean? What do you mean by ripple effect or the consequences? Can you expand on that any further?
Well, like the whole impact it had on my victim, on Sadie, and her family, and also what it did to me and where I've been, how I've been incarcerated for 5 years, the impact it's had on my family from the choice and the decision that I made, the trauma that I could have caused.
Okay. Okay, at this time, we'll move forward with the victim statement. Sadie, are you prepared at this time to provide your statement?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Okay, thank you. If you just, so you don't have to turn your camera on, but if you raise your right hand and let me know when it's raised, I'll just swear you in quickly.
It's raised.
Do you swear that the testimony you provide today will be truthful and accurate?
Yes.
Thank you. And again, thank you for being here. I have reviewed the input provided at sentencing, I believe from a family member of yours, but I appreciate you coming to today's hearing to provide input. I'll take notes of your statement. I'll probably listen to your statement tomorrow and make sure the board members are aware of your thoughts and feelings as they consider this case. So you may proceed when you're ready.
The situation that happened when I was 14, and with it happening twice, and the way that my parents went about it really impacted how I struggle with building relationships and with like having relationships with men, and it gets very overstimulating for like physical touch and things like that. But after hearing like the programs and everything that JAYCE has been working on, and I don't really feel, the only concern I have with
if or when he is gets out and is free is there were threats made by his ex-girlfriend, and I'm just not sure. I haven't been feeling very like safe, and I've been feeling kind of like nervous about this whole thing going on, but it sounds like Jace has been putting in a lot of work and been doing what he needs to do, and I believe that people can change, and that, you know, I've made mistakes before too with just like not thinking in the moment, but it has definitely impacted me, but I do believe people can change over time. So that's all.
Again, thank you for being here and providing input. The board does value your input and your feelings that you've provided. Thank you again for that. And Mr. Crook, would you like to respond to that statement?
I would like to agree with her, and I'm thankful that she has noticed and is open-minded to knowing that people can change, because who I was to who I am today is completely different. And I'm just glad that she was here to say what she had to say.
Okay. While at this time, I was going to bring this up a little bit later in the hearing. If you are granted parole, if and when that does happen, it will almost certainly include what are referred to as Group A sex offender conditions. There are various conditions that are involved in that, including completing recommended treatment, submitting to random polygraphs, having residences and jobs approved, not associating or contacting children under the age of 18 without proper approvals. Part of it as well is having no victim contact without approval from your supervisors, and that includes indirect or direct contact. So anyone contacting on your behalf or from you to a family member or anyone associated with the victim would be a violation of that condition. If you are granted parole, are you willing to abide by those conditions?
Yes.
All right, so since arriving at the facility, looks like March 2021, you've successfully completed impact of crime, anger management, and the sex offender treatment program. What have you learned in those programs and classes?
Anger management, I learned how to manage my anger in a healthy way, to stop and think about, you know, the consequences, and instead of just acting out and not thinking about like the after effects, I really sit and think it's something worth it if I were to act on it. And impact of crime has made me realize the whole impact and ripple effect that you can have on somebody's life by making a split decision without thinking about the after effects of that as well. And then pre-SOTP taught me to be accountable for my actions and to not use minimizations or anything like that when it comes to talking about your situation and your case. And CORE has taught me a lot more about how to respond to high-risk situations and what to do if you're found in one, how to respond to people in a positive way, how to recognize people's movements and their body tone, their body language, about like stopping and thinking before you act on something. Also to what's the word I'm looking for? It's like to reflect on something. So say I'm in a risky situation, that say something in my past, like back when I was catching drug charges all the time. I could reflect on those things if I got into those thinking patterns again, and I could pull myself out of it just by recognizing.
Thank you for your comments. I'll note those in my report to the board so that they're aware of them. Looks like you've had various disciplinaries. I think one March 14th, 2022 is an A13. You possessed homemade alcohol. Were you using homemade alcohol at that time?
At that time, I was a little bit, but it was more of a situation where someone had me hold something for them.
Okay. When's the last time you used drugs or alcohol?
Last time I used drugs or alcohol would have to have been, I'd say, over a year ago.
Okay. I note that I think your history at the time of this offense and leading up to this offense, some substance abuse and drug distribution was going on. Do you view substance abuse as a risk factor in your case?
No, not anymore, because so most of my problems were with marijuana, and I do have mental disabilities and stuff that when I use marijuana, it helps. But now that I can get a medical card, and I'm not into anything harder than marijuana, so I don't see it being an issue. I don't have the temptations to want to go back and sell marijuana either, because it did me no good in the long run. Yeah, it's fast cash or whatever, but it's not an honest way of living, and I don't want to do that anymore.
Okay. I think the board did previously set the expectation of you completing substance use treatment. After today's hearing, they could make an order and require you to complete that. They could also allow you to do any recommended treatment in the community. Really, it's up to the board, but are you willing to do that treatment if it is ordered?
If I have to, yeah. I mean, I have completed every single drug test I've ever been given since I've been incarcerated. I have no failed UAs. Back in 22, I went to Hope, and the therapist that was supposed to put me in the program, she did an assessment on me, and that said it was completed when I looked at the blue packet.
I show you did an assessment in 2022. It recommended residential treatment, but you've not done any substance use treatment. Am I reading that wrong?
I believe you're correct.
Okay. Yeah, so it's up to the board after today's hearing, certainly if they decide that is a requirement or not. But I just wanted you to be aware of that and get your input on that. I do note there was a write-up. So July 16th, 2022, the second, looks like you went into another inmate's cell. Do you remember that incident? So you just went into someone else's cell and sat down. Is that accurate?
Yeah, that was over in Ironwood. I have quite a bit of write-ups in Ironwood because it was kind of set up a little bit different than the other places in the prison.
Yeah, the August one, I think you didn't rack in immediately when an incident started. And then again in August, some interaction with an officer about shutting a door. June 2023, B16 tattoo contraband. Were you tattooing, or were you holding that, or what happened in that incident?
I was getting a tattoo.
Okay.
And then the one for fighting an assault is actually a horseplay. I didn't have.
BO2?
Yeah, I never got in any fights the whole time I was in prison.
Okay, so BO2, it says you guilty charge when, quote, I saw you, an officer saw you trying to pick up, wrapping your arm around another inmate. Your statement is that was a horseplay right up with your cellmate. What happened here?
So that was with my buddy Kenny. His name's Kendall Larson. And we were kind of just messing around, wrestling a little bit. We weren't serious or anything, but Officer Woodmansey saw it, and he was not
officer in our section or anything or on the unit. He was just doing pill line. And so when he glimpsed and he saw that, he called an IMS because he thought we were actually fighting.
Okay. I'll note your comments on those incidents. I know the report from the county jail is positive. It says you've been well behaved, no negative issues, seem to get along with staff and other offenders. You're an SOTP, engaged in therapy appropriately. It lists various jobs that you've had, gives a good rating in all your jobs as well. So I'll report that for the board. So the SOTP summary, I just got it today. Looks like it identifies, using the standard risk assessment tools, the static 99R, stable 2007, it identifies a well above average risk of reoffense. It goes over statistics regarding what that means and the demographic in which you fall. It gives a positive report, looks like, of your attitude during treatment. Talks about some of your continued care plans as well. Based on your risk assessments, it details some of the things you did in treatment with risk factors, coping strategies, etc. Recommends that future treatment focus on maintaining appropriate long-term romantic relationships or dealing with your history of struggling with that. Building protective factors such as intimacy with adults and engaging in meaningful romantic relationships. Talks about your past struggling with feeling included in social groups and engaging in pro-social leisure activities. It talks about a history of using sex as a way to solve social and emotional problems. Says you'd likely benefit from treatment that will help improve in those specific problems and cope with life stressors in healthy and sustainable ways. Notes that you successfully completed the program. And it recommends that you be evaluated for the possibility of parole at today's hearing. Do you have any other questions or concerns about that document? Do you agree with what it states or any opinions that it gives?
I agree with it.
Okay. So I've reviewed your written submissions about your release plan, have some notes about where you plan to live and work, the treatment you'd like to do. Thank you for providing those before today's hearing. It helps me prepare. I want to give you a chance today. If you're granted parole, what would your release plan look like?
My release plan, my short term would be when I get a date to get my address verified and approved. And then also my work. So I work for my stepdad, tying rebar for the union. And I've been doing that before I ever even got incarcerated. So I do have a career doing that. And then just get in touch with my parole officer and all that. And then for my long term, I'd have to do aftercare, of course. I have to do some more programming when I get out for 6 to 8 months. And I'd like to get that going as soon as I get out too. And then get my medical card so I don't have any problems there. And then long term would be start saving up money, finish aftercare, find my own place, get it approved, just rebuild my life.
And you're planning to do aftercare with Alpha? Is that still the plan?
There's an Alpha over in like Linden area, I believe, and I was gonna contact them and see if I can get on schedule with them.
Okay. Certainly providers are available. I would recommend, if you're granted parole, talk to your agent. You can talk to your case manager leading up to that, have things arranged as are appropriate. I've read some documents regarding mental health from the time of sentencing, the court order that led to the prison commitment. What are your diagnoses as you understand them?
I was diagnosed with learning disability. Is like I'm a slow learner. I have problems catching on to things sometimes, especially math. I have ADHD, and I've been diagnosed with bipolar type 2. But ever since I've been incarcerated and I've been working on my mental health and my physical health, I pulled myself off of mental medications by working out.
Okay. At times, the board will include in a parole agreement what's called mental health conditions. That requires a mental health evaluation and then complying with any treatment that's recommended. Certainly, even if that weren't to be needed right off the bat, if there were struggles that happened, if things occurred, it's something that can happen as well. Do you think that would be a good idea in your case? What are your thoughts on that?
If that's what they want to do, I will comply with that.
What are your thoughts on it? Do you think having mental health treatment, meeting with someone in therapy, I know obviously the board makes the decision on what you'll have to do, but I'm interested in what you think. Would that be helpful to you?
I personally don't think I need any medical or mental health analysis or any evaluations. I feel like I'm under control myself, you know.
Okay. Well, those are the questions I have for you. What else would you like the board to know?
I would like the board to know that I take accountability for my actions, and I do feel bad for what I did, and I just wish I could move forward with my life.
Okay. What I'll do from here is take your case under advisement. I've put together a report of what I reviewed before today's hearing. I'll include into that report what's been discussed at today's hearing. I'll then submit that to the members of the board, hopefully by tomorrow. There's 5 members of the board. They make decisions by majority vote. That usually takes, we say, up to 2 to 4 weeks, but sometimes the decision is made in a few days. Sometimes it does take a number of weeks. Once the decision is made, we'll send it to you, Mr. Crook, through the mail, and it will also be posted to the board's website if there's anyone in the community that would like to access it there. So that's how we'll proceed. With that, thank you to everyone who's participated at today's hearing. I wish you the best of luck moving forward, and we'll go ahead and conclude.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This is an original hearing. Is it ANATOLY Boardman?
That's correct.
Number 248761. Is that you, sir?
248761.
Correct.
Yeah, that's me.
My name's Scott Manning. I'm a hearing officer with the Utah Board of Pardons and Parole, and I'll be conducting today's hearing. I am going to be taking testimony from you. If you'd raise your right hand, I'll swear you in. Do you swear that the testimony you provide today will be truthful and accurate?
Yes, I'll testify that.
You will tell the truth today?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. You can lower your hand. Did you receive at least 7 days written notice of today's hearing along with your blue disclosure packet?
I did.
So that disclosure packet contains the information that the Board of Pardons will be considering as they make a decision in your case. I'm going to be going over quite a bit of some of that information with you during the hearing. But part of the purpose of today's hearing is to allow you to point out any errors or inaccuracies with that disclosure. Excuse me. Before we move forward, are there errors or inaccuracies you want to discuss with me?
Not right now.
Okay. What I'd like to do today, I'm going to start by giving an overview of your case. So we'll talk about your convictions, your sentences that you're serving, your guideline date. I'll basically tell you how today's hearing works. From there, there's 2 cases in which you were committed to prison. We'll briefly talk about what happened in each of those cases, the facts of the cases. From there, I have some questions for you about what brought us here today, what you've been doing since you arrived at the facility, and your plans moving forward. Then at the end of the hearing, I'll give you the final word, and you can state on the record anything else you'd like to. Does that sound okay to you?
Yes.
Looks like your commitment offenses are unlawful sexual activity with a minor, felony 3, and tampering with a witness, felony 3. You're serving a maximum aggregate sentence of between 0 and up to 5 years in prison. As of now, that sentence will expire on February 16th of 2027. So that's the maximum amount of time that the board will retain jurisdiction over your case. That's when your sentence will run out. Your parole guideline calls for 33 months of incarceration. Based on that guideline, you would be released on November 16th of 2024. The board is obviously not bound by that guideline. It passed on November 16th of 2024. In making decisions about release, the board considers your case as a whole to determine the timing of a release, and if so, the conditions, contingencies of any such release. Looks like in January of 2023, the board scheduled a November 2024 original hearing. They requested a sex offender treatment program memo, and they said they expected you to complete the sex offender treatment program and comply with your case action plan. Looks like you had an original hearing on November 26th of 2024.
No.
I think you had not received your institutional progress report, so you requested to have the hearing continued or rescheduled. So the board did continue the hearing and schedule today's hearing so that we can proceed with the hearing. So the case we need to talk about is case 2011-00764. The first case looks like in April of 2020. I think you were 20 years old at the time. You began speaking with a 15-year-old female victim on social media. You told this victim you wanted to have sex with her. You arranged to meet at a park. You then went together to her house where you ate and watched a movie. The report says you touched the victim's vagina and breasts with your hands and mouth. Later, you sent the victim sexual messages. You sent nude videos to the victim. The report also says you would make the victim take off her clothes and touch herself. It says that this made her uncomfortable and she felt like she had to do it to please you. The official version of the case also says that the victim knew a separate 15-year-old female with whom you had exchanged nude photos and videos in a similar way. Is that accurate as to what happened in the case?
No.
So what happened?
So the part that you said about taking, like me telling her to take the clothes off, I never said that.
But you admit you met this 15-year-old female on social media, arranged to meet up with her and engaged in sexual activity with her. That's accurate?
Yeah, that was accurate.
Okay. And what led to you engaging in this behavior?
Well, she asked me out and we started dating, so like boyfriend and girlfriend.
You said she asked you out and you started dating. Is that what you said?
Well, she sent me messages on social media and we just started talking, and then she asked me to be her boyfriend. And then after a while, like we started dating. And after that, that's what happened.
Did you know she was 15 years old?
At that time, I didn't.
You did not?
No.
Did you suspect she was underage or 15 years old?
Yeah, as assumptions.
Okay, so having assumed or known, suspected that this individual was 15 years old, why did you pursue a sexual relationship with her? What led to that?
I don't remember, like, I don't know.
Have you gained any insight into that as far as what led to that behavior?
What do you mean?
So that's the reason we're here. That's a felony offense in Utah. You've been convicted of that. I'm trying to glean any insight into that. Do you regret doing that? Do you recognize that it's wrong? That's something that you should not do. any insight at all about the case?
Yeah, I regret, and since I've been down, I did programming, and I knew like when I've been in prison, I've been thinking about it, and it was stupid of me doing it, and I was young at the time, so I was not thinking. I was not like thinking with my head straight, and yeah, I was 20, and I should thought better of that, but I was dealing through a lot. I was homeless, and I was just going job to jobs, and yeah, I was not thinking at the time.
So earlier, you said the victim asked you out. The victim asked you to be her boyfriend. Really, the issue here is that you were 20 years old and this was a 15-year-old minor. So I just want to be very clear. You would agree that it is inappropriate for an adult to engage in sexual behavior in any way with a 15-year-old minor. Is that something you agree with?
Yes, I agree to that.
Okay. The next case is case 201100892. Looks like August of 2020. You sent, the report says, quote, suicidal messages to that victim, asking her to drop the charges. I think it says you sent a photo of yourself holding a knife to yourself at that time. Is that accurate as to what happened?
Yes.
Walk me through your mindset with that, certainly reaching out to a victim in this regard. What led to you engaging in that behavior?
Well, because I was dating a different girl at the time, and she went on vacation, and I told her about the situation, and she told me, like, can you ask her to drop the charges? And I listened to her, and that's what I said to this girl, to drop the charges.
You're saying someone else told you to reach out and do this? Is that what, did I understand that correctly?
Yeah, somebody told me, like, can you ask this person to drop the charges? And that's what I did.
But you were the one who did that, right? So walk me through your actions. What have you learned about, obviously that's a violation of reaching out in that way to the victim. That's another felony conviction for tampering with a witness. What insight do you have about what led to you engaging in that behavior? Any insight about coping strategies to change that? Have you gained any insight into that?
Well, I'm thinking about it. At the time, I didn't know what is tampering with a witness means. And now I've been down now. I deal with tampering the witness, and you're not allowed to, like, go to a victim and ask them to drop the charges when you commit a crime. So now I understand very clear, and never gonna do that again.
Okay. Looks like you were placed on probation in these cases in November of 2020. I think your conditions included standard conditions, substance abuse related conditions, maintain employment, and group A sex offender conditions, which obviously include doing recommended sex offense treatment, no contact with any victims, no contact or association with children under the age of 18. Looks like you were unsuccessful in sex offender treatment about a year into it. I think the report I reviewed says there was, due to your attitude in treatment, you did not get back into another program. I think a private program you were supposed to get into. I think the reports discussed at times working on and off, but having kind of struggling to maintain that. I think probation was restarted in January 2022, and the judge ordered that you complete the treatment program. And I think you had the violations for going to Wendover. There were speeding tickets there, and then officers found pornography, had been viewing pornography on your phone. And I think you had messages, something about dating an individual with siblings in the home under the age of 18. I think those are the violations that led to prison. Is that accurate?
Yeah, that's accurate.
Okay. And I think you were attempted theft of services, misdemeanor B conviction from October 2021. So I guess, you were given a chance at probation prior to prison. The goal of that was for you to address your risks, your needs related to this behavior that led to these convictions. And you struggled to do that on probation. What do you think prevented you from being successful while you were on that probation?
Well, because I have gambling addiction, and I like to go on Wendover. And like when I had a job, I usually get a paycheck, and instead, like I was homeless too, and then instead saving money for apartment or keeping a apartment, I just go to Wendover and I gamble. It's like just pass the time.
I mean, obviously, if you're on probation and if you're on parole, if the board were to grant a parole, you can't leave the state without permission, right? There's rules, there's regulations you need to follow. What insight do you have into that? I mean, are you at a point now that you're willing to comply with those things, or what do you think needs to be different if you're granted parole so that you can be compliant and successful?
Yeah, if I will grant parole, I will comply with our regulation and our rules 100%. And if I wanted to go to Wendover, or if I want to do something, I would communicate with my parole officer.
Looks like you successfully completed the pre-sex offender treatment program, but you were unsuccessful in the sex offender treatment program, the core portion. You were removed in August of 2024. What happened in the program?
In pre-program, I got kicked out once because it's pretty hard for me to do like the program over here. And I restarted the pre. It took a year to finish the pre. I think I got kicked out on book 5. There's book six books on pre, and I kicked out on book 5. And then for like 30 days, and I restarted again in 2023. Yeah, I think I restarted 2023, and I finished in 2024. And I went to court in August, I think August 2nd in 2024, and I lasted like 3.5 weeks, and I got kicked out again. And now I'm just,
Yeah,
here.
so that, I mean, I have all the dates. I know that you were removed at those times that you recently removed. Why were you removed? Why were you not able to complete the program? What happened?
Because in King County, I was in court, and I called somebody, you're a different color, and they called me out I was racist, which is I wasn't, and that's the reason they kicked me out. And then they also called me out I was cheating, copying people assignments, and getting their examples, and I don't know, they're just being pretty strict over there. So yeah, I don't know, they just kicked me out because they're hating me.
Okay. We received, the Board of Pardons received a sex offender treatment program discharge summary. It's dated August 30th of 2024. It was prepared by Mr. Guy Finicum. Did you receive a copy of that document?
I did.
Okay. What are your thoughts about that document?
No, they put me like they sent me a letter and then told me to write to Green if I want to do the core program. And I came here, and this job has been like making me depressed, and I don't know, it's been different over here. So like I just don't know, like I think it would be better doing the program on the streets, like if I pay with my own money, and instead over here, because if I do over here, I'll be honest with you, I'll get kicked out and I probably like won't finish it the core. So like my best option would be doing like on the streets instead over here.
Yeah, I read that in your written submission that you sent to us. The issue that I'm seeing with that is that you were given the opportunity to do it on the streets on probation multiple times, and you kind of ran into what seemed to be similar issues, right? You weren't able to progress due to your attitude in the program not progressing appropriately. If the board were to allow you to complete the treatment in the community, what would be different? Why would you progress appropriately there?
Well, because I would have a job first, and then I won't be around criminals, because over here, like, it's hard for me to do the program because, like, I don't know, like I get judged over here, like I just get mad and I just give up over there. Like I'll be by myself, I have a place, a job, money, and I would come like once a week. I don't know if they do like once a week, like program. I'll just go another once a week, and I should finish like in a year.
I mean, any programs take a year and a half, but really the point of that is you have to progress, and it's not checking a box, going to a class. It's trying to address the issues that you have. To that regard, the risk assessments in the document based on the static and the stable assessment that is provided. Let's see. It provides places you in the well above average risk of reoffense using the static 99R and the stable 2007. It does recommend, based on those assessments and based on your poor performance during the treatment that you have done, that you complete the program prior to release. Okay. Any other thoughts about that document? Thoughts about the treatment, what you've learned? You've talked a lot about what happened in the program, you know, that you weren't able to complete it. What have you learned as far as coping strategies, how you can change your behavior moving forward?
I don't know. I still been thinking like, are you asking me if I'm gonna get in a program over here or on the streets and what coping skills I'll be using?
What was that? Did you ask me? What was the question?
Yeah, the question is like if I'm gonna do the program here or on the streets and what coping skills I'm gonna use.
Yeah, I just, you know, the goal of treatment is to develop coping strategies. You know, the assessment tools identify an above average risk, well above average risk in your case. Your treatment is designed to develop coping strategies so that you can change your behavior to address the risk factors that you deal with. Do you have any insight about how you'd plan to do that if you were released into the community?
My coping skill would be just go to the gym, listen to music, and I don't know, writing songs or like playing an instrument, or just talk to like, because I have anger issues, like then I'll just do like counseling therapy on the streets, like I don't know, just do all those things.
Okay. I have read your written submissions. If the board were to grant you parole, what would your release plan look like as far as where you'd plan to live, work, and treatment that you do?
I would have a job and a place, and treatment would be my first priority. And like, if I have a job during the day and they require me to work it and treatment during the day, then I'll just work at night and do the treatment during the day and follow the parole rules. And I don't know, it's hard for me to explain because I'm not really good at like talking. Like, I don't know, like I'll just work and do treatment and I don't know, like it's hard for me to explain. I'm not really
Yeah,
good at
that's why we're having the hearing today. So take your time, and I'm here to relay what you have to say to the board. The members of the board after today's hearing will decide whether you'll be granted parole or not. So anything you'd like them to know, this is your time to state it. So take your time.
Sorry, I'm just being nervous. Yeah, so like I just get a job. Like I've been thinking about getting 2 jobs, but it's not worth it because it's like I'll get depressed because I have depression and I get suicidal when I get depressed. So like I'm not gonna get 2 jobs. I'm just gonna get 1 job, and I'm gonna work at night and like sleep during the day, like maybe 5 hours or like 6 hours, then do the treatment and do counseling and therapy to help him with my depression, or I'll go like to like clinic for summer, like because I don't want to take medications because I've taken Prozac before. I don't know if you know what is Prozac, and that didn't help. So like I don't know. I just want to.
You filled out a packet for the board. You said that, you know, you've taken medications in the past. I think you said, quote, "The reason I stopped taking them was because I wanted to feel sad." What did you mean by that? What did you mean by that?
Well, because when I was in high school and my family who adopted me, they made me take Prozac. And if I don't take Prozac, no, I'll get like in trouble, like not in trouble, like they give me a consequence. But then when I turned 18 and I just stopped taking Prozac because they make me like feel like I don't know, different, like I make people like I don't know, I don't think straight when I take Prozac. Like I do something stupid that like people don't like it, like, and afterwards I laugh, like I don't know, like I just hurt people and I don't think, you know, I don't have to explain, like I was just doing stupid things when I was taking the Prozac. Like I was laughing and I don't know, I was not saying I'm sorry. I don't know. I just don't like taking that because it makes me feel weird.
And how would you say your mental health is right now?
right now it's stable. I mean, since I came to this jail, I've been depressed. I've been like sleeping the most of the time. And when I was in Gunnison in King County, I was like more active. And over here, I just like, I don't know, my mood swings went down. Yeah. I don't know, I just been different feelings.
And have you tried to, or what's your plan about getting back into treatment? Do you have classes, treatment available to you at the county jail where you are?
No, I got kicked out over there, and I don't want to go back there because it's pretty hard over there. Like I only lasted 2 weeks or 4 weeks. Like, yeah, it's really rough, and I feel like if I do go back there, I'm probably not gonna make it. Like, I'm not 100%. Like, I'm not gonna make it.
So if the board, after today's hearing, says you have to complete treatment before you get released, would you say no? You'd refuse to do that?
I don't know. I'm gonna think about it. I'm not gonna refuse it, but I'm gonna think about it like really hard and decide, like what is best for me.
Okay. This is a parole violation in original hearing for Michael Ledesma, number 156763. Is that you, sir? Sorry, I didn't hear you. Was that you?
Yes.
Okay, there we go. My name's Scott Manning. I'm a hearing officer with the Utah Board of Pardons and Parole, and I'll be conducting today's hearing. I'm going to be taking testimony from you. If you'd raise your right hand, I'll swear you in. Do you swear that the testimony you provide today will be truthful and accurate?
Yes.
Thank you. Did you receive at least 7 days written notice of today's hearing along with your blue disclosure packet?
Yes.
So that disclosure packet contains the new information that the board will be considering in your case as they make a decision after today's hearing. Part of the purpose of today's hearing is to allow you to point out any errors or inaccuracies with that disclosure. I'm planning on going over quite a bit of it today. First, we need you to enter pleas to 4 parole violation allegations. I'll kind of go over what's happened with the 3 separate cases, the new convictions that you have. After that, we'll talk about those 3 new cases, basically what happened in them. I have some questions for you about, this most recent parole, insight that you've gained about, your experience on parole, what you've been doing recently. And then at the end of the hearing, I'll give you the final word. But at this point in time, are there any errors or inaccuracies in your disclosure packet that you'd like to discuss with me?
There's one so in the disclosure packet, it said that my mom OD'd and died. She did not. She passed away from cancer.
Okay, I'm sorry to hear that, and I will note in my report to the board that clarification that you'd like noted. Anything else, any other errors you'd like to discuss?
No, that's the only one I really seen.
Okay. Looks like there's 4 parole violation allegations. Between November 2023, you returned to the prison in October 2023. Between November 2023 and September 2024, you were convicted and sentenced to prison in cases 2319-02870 for failure to stop the command of police, misdemeanor A, 2419-00143, unlawful possession or use of a financial card, 3rd-degree felony, and case 2419-01834, failure to register as a sex offender, 3rd-degree felony. The board previously took judicial notice of those new convictions, and based on those convictions, revoked the November 1st, 2022 parole. So I'm going to recommend that the board affirm the revocation of your prior parole based on those convictions. But there are 4 parole violation allegations that you've not yet entered pleas to. So I'm going to have you enter pleas to those 4 allegations. Before you do that, you do have the right to force the Department of Corrections to prove each of these allegations by a preponderance of the evidence at an evidentiary hearing. What that means is you'd have an attorney The state would have an attorney who would present evidence of that these things occurred. You'd be able to rebut that evidence and present a defense of your own if you'd like to. If you admit or plead no contest to the allegations, you'll be waiving your right to that evidentiary hearing. Do you understand that? Okay. So the first allegation, by having failed to report to adult probation and parole as directed, absconded parole, or absconded parole on or about August 17th, 2023. Do you admit, deny, or plead no contest?
Admit.
Okay. Number two, by having failed to establish, reside at, or changed without prior approval from adult probation and parole your residence of record on or about August 17th, 2023. Admit, deny, or no contest? What was that?
Admit.
Admit.
Yeah.
Number three, by having absconded or fled from parole supervision on the same date, August 17th, 2023. Admit, deny, or no contest?
Admit.
Number four, by having a residence or changing such residence without approval from adult probation and parole in violation of your agreement. Admit, deny, or no contest?
Admit.
All right, I find your pleas knowing and voluntary. I'll recommend the board accept your admissions to all four allegations. And since the parole's already been revoked, that will allow us to move forward and discuss the new cases. So just to review, you have a maximum sentence of life from the 2003 cases. Based on these new convictions, your current parole guideline under the sentencing guidelines is 16 months. That would lead to you being released on February 4th of 2025. The board is not bound by that guideline. After today's hearing, they'll consider your case as a whole with all mitigating and aggravating factors to decide whether a release is appropriate, and if so, the timing, conditions, contingencies of any such release. The first new case is 231902870. Looks like October 2023. You were a fugitive from parole, so I think you'd absconded. APMP and the U.S. Marshals located you near an apartment where I believe you had been living. You were walking your dog. Looks like you ran into the apartment. Officers told you to stay where you were, but you ran into the apartment. They knocked for about 5 minutes. At that point, you exited the residence and you were arrested. Is that accurate as to what happened?
Yes.
Second case, 241901834. The facts of this case are the same as the previous case, but it says, I think you stopped communicating with adult probation and parole a few months prior to this, and you were not living at the residence where you were registered as having been living. I think it was empty at the time you had moved out, and obviously you're required to update your residence within 3 days of changing it with the registry, and I think that's a requirement that you have. So is that accurate as to what happened? Yes. All right, the next case, 241900143. On 9 separate occasions between October 2nd, 2023 and October 5th, 2023, you used a victim's stolen credit cards to purchase things or withdraw cash from ATMs. I think the total was $1,589.88. Said you were seen on camera doing this. Did you steal these cards, these financial cards?
Didn't steal them personally, no.
Okay, but how did you come in, how did you acquire these?
Most likely, well, with people I knew, like bad people, just
okay,
people I shouldn't be hanging out with.
And you admit that these transactions were
Yeah.
you that made purchases and withdrew the cash?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Based on my review of the records, no restitution has been ordered in that case, but I think, the pre-sentence report listed that amount of loss from one of the victims reporting it. At this point, I think the Board of Pardons returned the case to the sentencing court because the court is the entity that has jurisdiction over restitution. I don't think anything's been ordered, but it's certainly possible. Are you willing to pay any restitution that is ordered?
Yes. Yeah.
All right. Now, looking back at this parole, I've got a summary here so you're out 11 months, completed substance use treatment at Nuke. I think you tested positive for opiates after a couple months while you were at the halfway house, but you passed 8 UAs, had a job until June, but I think he lost it due to staffing issues at the company.
Yes.
From there, lost your residence, absconded, kind of stopped reporting to APMP. I think the warrant request says you were living with a friend who had an 8-year-old child at the home as well. So I think in my mind, that's kind of a group A conditions issue as well. And that led to these new cases. Walk me through, what do you think went wrong on this most recent parole? You know, why were you not able to be successful and compliant?
So, like, I'm working at Treehouse Foods, which used to be called Loft House. And we were doing good there. I was doing good, you know, making awesome money. And then just had the wool, like, rug pull from under us. Like, we lost our contract with Walmart, and I didn't know what to do after that. I put in for a bunch of jobs after that, but then my background just wasn't, a lot of these jobs just weren't letting me get them. So, but that job at Treehouse was like, it's supposed to be like 8 to 12 week furlough until they got their contract back with Walmart. So I was kind of hoping for that. Like, I had a little bit of money saved up for like 2 months worth of rent. And I pretty much paid the 2 months, and then that was it. I was out of money.
So you ran, that was a difficulty, right? A risk factor there that you lost your job. Obviously, the reason we're here is the reaction to that, which was not communicating with your agent, not telling them that the residence issue was happening, living with an individual who had a child there, which was obviously against parole conditions, engaging in, you know, using a victim's stolen credit cards, not updating a registry. So the reaction to that is kind of why we're here. And certainly I'm interested in any insight that you have, because I've gone over your past paroles, and I won't go over them, you know, all now, but I have a summary of each of them. And it seems like it's kind of been similar, right? You've done okay for a period of time, and then there's been struggles, which has led to substance abuse at times, absconding, and these same types of issues. So, you know, what needs to change so that you can, and I note as well, you've done quite a bit of treatment. I think you've done substance use treatment, sex offense treatment over the years, parole violator program. You've done quite a bit of classes in treatment. I think you've probably been exposed to some of the things that are hopefully develop coping strategies. At this point, what needs to change? So this cycle, if you're granted another parole, what do you plan to do to break that cycle that we've established?
What I need to do for me personally, I need to develop better coping skills, obviously, with my surroundings and the people I hang out with. There's a lot of people I need to distance myself from. Even some of my family members, like, it's a struggle, especially my family members, like, to say no to them or not go around them because they're obviously, you know, family. And just, I have to, I guess, be more selfish in a way, and you know, do me first, you know what I mean? So I can, so it helps. It helps me to get better involved with, like, the people, like, in a sober community. Stuff like that. Like, I planned on going to, so we have an Al-Anon club up there in Ogden. Going up there because they have NA and AA over there, like almost every night.
And were you using the period of time while you had absconded? Were you using during that period of time?
For like the last, like, month or two, and I stopped, like, right before.
Okay. So walk me through that. So let's get a little specific. And I, you know, I think I have an answer of how I'd answer this and what the ideal situation would be. But going back, you lose your job, you're dealing with these struggles. How would you approach it differently? If you're granted another parole, without a question, the same roadblocks, the same difficult things that have happened in the past will happen again. What do you plan to do differently, specifically to address things in a healthy way?
So I should have been more upfront with my PO. I mean, I told him about the job, but I didn't tell him how bad I was struggling. So I need to, like, definitely I need to have more conversation with him. And he was making me come in, like, every week or every other week to update him on the job search. I need to be more take it as a job to go get a job, you know what I mean? Like, put in like 4 or 5, 6, 7, 8 hours a day, trying to go find a job. And, you know what I mean? Just, that's what I need to be doing, and.
Well, I'll tell you one thing, certainly the straight shot, straight road back to where we are is absconding, not updating your registry, and violating parole in those ways. So certainly finding a, you know, if you need a stabilization program, you say, I don't know, I don't have a place to go, we need to figure it out. Let's get into a program, let's get into stabilization. I think there needs to be some sort of plan so that you don't spiral as you have. Would you agree with that?
Yes.
Okay.
I didn't know if there was like a stabilization, if we can go like, if I can go right back to the like halfway house from out there. Is that like an option, or?
Well, you know,
Like,
talking
say-
about
say-
that would be a better option than just not communicating with your agent, right? And going on the run, I think. So I think that certainly stabilization is there for a reason. There's no guarantee of a placement immediately. It's obviously not going to be easy, but talking about it, I think, is the step, is a step in going with the plan to kind of address it. You know, I think, yeah, there is a stabilization program. We get those requests. You know, something happens, someone has lost a job, doesn't have a place to be, they need stabilization for a period of time. There's options there, but certainly it needs to, the only way that can happen is communicating, reporting, kind of trying to address them openly. Any other thoughts that you have about that?
No, I think that hits it on the head.
I don't think you've done any documented programming or classes since you've been back, since October 2023. What do your days look like? What have you been up to since you returned?
Really don't have much to do. I mean, they have a couple programs, like, not really programs, but like, they have like MRTs, which I've already taken. I don't know if I could retake it or if that would help. They have like fatherhood classes, I guess. But really, there ain't really much to do. I work out a little bit and just kind of walk around and just kind of try and get my mind right.
Okay. How do you feel like your mental health is right now?
I think it's good, personally. I feel a lot better off, like, to be honest, off the drugs. You know what I mean? Like, it took a few months to get sober, like, mentally.
What do you think helps you in the facility? Because it seems like generally once you're back in, you know, you've done classes, treatment, behaves fairly well. What do you think helps with that? What do you think is the difference?
I think it's just like-minded people I hang out with, and they're just on the same type of tip, you know what I mean? Just want to stay sober.
Okay. Yeah, housing staff gives a positive report of your behavior and attitude since you've returned. You have no disciplinary violations as well, so I'll note that for the board. If you are granted another chance at parole, I've got your written submissions about what you said your plans would look like, but I want to give you a chance today. If you're granted parole, what would your release plan look like?
For one, I'd probably be going to Nuke if that was possible. Probably going back to their SA program and just talk with Mel, who is usually my therapist out there, and just kind of get with her and go get a job and just do my classes and make things stick.
Okay. You said you'd like to do, because substance use treatment, that was a positive thing for you at Nuke this last time?
I like personally, I like it. A lot of people probably don't like it, but I like the structure it gives me.
Okay. Well, those are the questions that I have for you. What else would you like the Board of Pardons to know?
I don't know, like, just hopefully I can get another chance of parole and just, you know, prove myself. I know I've said it before, but I just need, you know, one more shot. I hope it does it.
Okay. What I'll do from here is take your case under advisement. I've put together a report of what I reviewed before today's hearing. I'll include what you and I talked about at today's hearing in that report, and I'll submit that to the members of the board, hopefully by tomorrow. Usually we say it takes up to 2 to 4 weeks for a decision to be made. Sometimes it's a few days. Sometimes it does take a few weeks. Once that decision is made, we'll send it to you in writing through the mail, and it will also be posted to the board's website if there's anyone in the community that would like to access it there. So with that, thank you for being here and discussing these things with me. Wish you the best of luck moving forward, and we'll go ahead and conclude.
All right, thank you. Whoa.
This is an original hearing for James Milllus, number 235634. Is that you, sir?
Yes, it is.
My name's Scott Manning. I'm a hearing officer with the Utah Board of Pardons and Parole, and I'll be conducting today's hearing. I am going to be taking testimony from you. If you'd raise your right hand, I'll swear you in.
Okay.
Do you swear that the testimony you provide today will be truthful and accurate?
Yes, I do.
Thank you. I do want to recognize victim representative Samantha, is it Rastley, who we have here with us in today's hearing. Thank you for being with us today, Samantha. She'll be providing a statement in a few minutes during the hearing. I'll let you know when we are ready for that statement. Mr. Milllus, did you receive at least 7 days written notice of today's hearing along with your blue disclosure packet?
Yes, I did.
Okay, I do note, so that disclosure packet contains the information that the Board of Pardons will be reviewing as they make a decision in your case. I know within the last week, the board received and then sent to you letters. So a letter from the victim of record in the case and various family members of the victim. I think we sent some of these 6 days ago, some of them 2 days ago. Did you receive those documents?
I received some just yesterday, yes.
Okay. And you have the right to receive and review all documents that the board will consider, including those, and you have the right to have more time to review those if you'd like. If you want to, we can reschedule today's hearing so you can review them, or if you're willing to waive disclosure, we can proceed today. How would you like to proceed?
I'm willing to waive disclosure. That's fine.
Okay. Well, that disclosure packet and the information that we've sent to you, part of the purpose of today's hearing is to allow you to point out any errors or inaccuracies with that information. I'm going to go over some of that today. So I'm planning to first provide an overview of your conviction, your sentence, your parole guideline date, basically explain how today's hearing works. From there, you've been committed to prison in one case. We'll talk about the facts of what happened in that case. At that point, we will have the victim impact statement. After that statement, you'll be able to respond if you'd like to. From there, I have some questions prepared for you about what you've been doing in the facility, your plans moving forward. Then at the end of the hearing, I'll give you the final word and you can state anything else you'd like to on the record. But at this point, are there any errors or inaccuracies in the disclosure packet that you'd like to discuss with me?
Not that I have noticed.
Okay. So your commitment offense is aggravated sexual abuse of a child, felony 1. You're serving a sentence of between 15 years and up to life in prison. Based on my calculations, the minimum 15-year sentence will pass on August 15th of 2032. Your parole guideline, which is established through the Utah Sentencing Commission, recommends a 192-month guideline incarceration for 16 years. Based on that guideline, you would be released on August 15th of 2033. The board is not bound by that guideline. After today's hearing, what they will do is review your case as a whole with all relevant mitigating and aggravating factors, including but not limited to the minimum and maximum sentence, the nature of your offenses, your criminal history, victim input and impact, your rehabilitative progress, various risk assessments, etc. It looks like this is the first appearance that you've made before the Board of Pardons, and no expectations have been set, no smart scheduling was done, so this is the first appearance. The case we need to talk about is case 171901858. Between 2015 and 2017, you sexually abused the victim, who was your stepdaughter. During this period of time, the victim was between the ages of 12 and 14 years old. The abuse occurred, as described in the official version of the case, 2 or more times per week during that period of time. The pre-sentence report describes in detail the most recent incident. At that time, you entered the victim's room while she slept. You removed the victim's pants. The victim tried to move away, but you prevented this. You touched your penis to the victim. You had attempted to engage in anal intercourse with the victim and ejaculated on the victim before leaving the room. The pre-sentence report says similar incidents happened, quote, a lot, but this occasion was the first involving ejaculation or your penis at that time. The previous incidents are described as you entering the victim's room, removing the victim's underwear, and touching her buttocks and vagina. It says that those incidents occurred once or twice a week for between 1.5 years to 2 years. The abuse was reported after the most recent incident described. The pre-sentence report then describes you threatening to commit suicide and various incidents that led to you being apprehended by police. I've reviewed your pre-sentence report statement as well as the statement that you submitted to the board in writing. But is that summary that I just read with you, is that accurate as to what happened in this case?
Yes, it is, sir.
Okay. What led to you abusing the victim in this case?
Probably just a complete lack of care for anybody else but myself. I've asked myself this question so many times. I obviously became attracted to the victim, and I had no self-control, selfish. Just an absolute lack of care for anybody else but myself during that time. I believe it was an opportunity, unfortunately, that led to it as well. It's pure selfishness.
Okay. Do you experience sexual attraction to children? Is that something that you have experienced in the past or currently experience?
Prior to that, no, it wasn't. And when it started showing up with my victim, I didn't make the necessary steps to curtail that, to take care of that problem. I was, again, too selfish, too proud, too prideful. Not the right spot in my head to take care of that myself, and I let it fester and continue until it turned into abuse.
I do note that I believe the sentencing court ordered $1,500 in restitution. That restitution, I believe, was sent to the Office of State Debt Collection. Due to the date of sentencing, I believe the Board of Pardons does retain jurisdiction to make further restitution orders if that were to be requested and the procedure followed appropriately. Have you paid restitution of what was ordered?
No, I've not been able to pay that restitution as of yet.
Are you willing to pay restitution moving forward?
Absolutely.
That has been sent to the Office of State Debt Collection. So if that were to be something you wanted to do, I would refer you to your case manager or any supervisors to talk about how to set up payment plans or however to go about that when the time does arise. At this point in time, we will have the victim impact statement. Samantha, are you prepared at this time to make your statement?
Yes, I am.
Okay. So you don't have to turn your camera on, but if you'd raise your right hand, just let me know when it's raised and I'll swear you in.
Okay, I'm ready.
Do you swear that the testimony you provide today will be truthful and accurate?
Yes, I do.
Okay, thank you for being here to provide your statement. I do want you to know I have read the letter that you submitted, as well as the victim's letter and all the letters that have been submitted from other family members. I don't do that to certainly want to hear anything you have to say today, but I have read those. I prepared a summary of what are in those letters, and that information will be provided to the Board of Pardons. I have reviewed what was stated in the pre-sentence report at the time of sentencing. I note that the docket makes notes that various individuals made statements at sentencing. I have not listened to that. I don't have access to listening to that, but just wanted you to be aware of what I have read and am aware of. And with that, you can proceed with your statement whenever you're ready.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Manning. So my name is Samantha, and I am speaking on behalf of the victim, in this case, my daughter Lily. While I realize I am under no obligation to say her name out loud, I think it's important for you to hear it. Lily is my youngest daughter. She is smart, kind, loving, a hard worker, and gives far more to this world than she takes. Being in her presence, hearing her laugh, watching her interact with her sisters and brother, most of the world would never guess the demons she fights every single day. Lily has worked incredibly hard to become the young woman she is, despite the horrific abuse she endured for years at the offender sitting over there today. I have no doubt you have received letters stating what a great person he is, that he's a model prisoner, that he's found God and is reformed. The offender is extraordinarily good at being deceitful and a chameleon. I gave him free access to the three most precious people in my life, my daughters. I'd like to tell you a quick story about the person sitting there that is requesting release far before his minimum sentence states. This man met my daughters when they were 10, 9, and Lily was only 5 years old. He stepped into their lives and became dad to 3 girls that did not have a dad in their lives. My babies adored him. They grew up with him, and when we added my son to our family, it was seemingly perfect. That man was dad to Lily, her sisters, and her brothers, until he made the very conscious, purposeful choice to start sexually assaulting Lily when she was 12 years old. And then he made that choice over and over and over again, week after week, for 3 years. He chose to torture and scare and hurt my baby in our home hundreds of times, threatening Lily that if she said anything, it would destroy our family. She was 12, 13, 14 years old. He was so good at playing chameleon, I had no idea what was happening in my own home. No one did. He would just say he couldn't sleep, and I stupidly believed him. On August 15th, 2017, my sweet girl had reached her limit and could no longer handle the abuse she was receiving from the offender. Lily was finally able to tell me what had been happening to her. There are a million things that happened that day, and none of which I will ever forget. Neither will Lily or her oldest sister, Chloe, who never left her side that day. But there are a few things you should know as you decide the outcome of this hearing. The first one is this. Lily had to write down the details of the abuse from the night before because it was too horrific for her to tell me. When I got a hold of the offender and he got home, I handed him that piece of paper my 14-year-old daughter had written. He looked me straight in the eyes and said, "She's not lying. I did all of those things to her." The sound that came out of my daughter's mouth next is forever imprinted on my soul. Later that afternoon, my oldest daughter, Chloe, and I had to take Lily to a rape crisis center for an exam. I was not allowed to be with her during that exam. Hearing my child cry through a closed door because she was scared and hurting was one of the worst feelings I have ever experienced. But turning around and seeing my oldest daughter, who idolized that man, sobbing quietly as her heart was breaking too, was almost as devastating. Let there be no question that Lily is the primary victim in this case. She endured things I still don't know and probably never will. She deserves to have as much time feeling safe from him as absolutely possible. But I have 3 other amazing kids that broke that day in different ways as well. That offender destroyed Chloe's idea of what a dad should be or do. She doesn't love easily now, and she certainly will never trust again. Emma, my middle daughter, and her now husband, Cole, had already planned what part the offender would play in their wedding. He took that away from Emma. My 2 older girls, who are so smart and kind and amazing, have had to deal with far too much in their lives, yet they still shine. They don't deserve to have to worry about if he's around every corner. Then there's my sweet son. Tomorrow's his 15th birthday. He's had to deal with the trauma of seeing the offender sexually abuse his sister when they shared a room. Eli was only 5 or 6 years old. He fights demons every single night, has anxiety, and can't sleep with a light off because he's afraid of what the dark brings. He doesn't deserve having to worry about where that man is for many, many more years. I have done the very best I could to get my family through this nightmare that the offender chose to create for us. Please remember that as you're deliberating this case. He made these choices time and time again to sexually abuse Lily, knowing it would destroy her and our family. He wouldn't not have stopped if she had not come to me. Let my kids, especially Lily, have a choice in this decision and make him serve the rest of his original sentence. Thank you very much for letting me speak.
Thank you for being here, Samantha. I've taken some notes of your statement. I will listen to your statement tomorrow and include what's been said in my report that I'll submit to the board. They will also have access to listen to your statement if they would like to as well. Mr. Millis, would you like to provide a brief response?
Yes, so this is true. This is all true from day one. When I didn't have the self-respect to come forward, when it took my victim to do it for me, because they were so much of a better person than I was. I knew from that moment, I knew the horrible things I was doing. I knew the horrible consequences of my actions. I was too stupid. I was too selfish to care. And it continued. She was absolutely right. What I put my victim through, what she had to endure and has to continue to endure for the rest of her life, is unforgivable. It's unthinkable. It's unwarranted. It's unfair. Everybody else, my family included, that I have made victims in this whole thing, it's unfair for them. They should have never been a possibility. And it's only because of my selfish actions, sir. Like I put them through that. And I know that every day. And I'm going to continue to work on being better. I'm not coming into this hearing asking you guys to get out. I'm coming to this hearing I want to hear this. I know it's healing, and it's what I need as a person to continue to get better and be better. And I will every day. I know these words don't even come close to making up for what I did. It has no bearing. There is nothing I can say today that makes what I did okay or forgivable or even, just, it doesn't make it forgivable. Nothing I say today can. I am sorry from the bottom of my heart, even though I know that doesn't make it okay. And I'll continue. I just want them to know that I will continue be better every single day.
Well, I will summarize what's the statements that have been made today. Again, I'll listen to tomorrow's the recording tomorrow to make sure I'm accurately reflecting what's been stated to them. I did just remember, Mr. Millis, as I've been conducting hearings today, I was sent a sex offense assessment dated January 21st of 2025. It was completed by a Mr. Brian K. Chandler. Did you receive a copy of that document?
No, I have not.
Okay, you also have the right to receive and review this document if you'd like to before the hearing. I haven't read it either, so I just glanced at it. If you'd like to, we can postpone the hearing so you can receive and review this, or you can waive disclosure. We can discuss it and see how you feel. How would you like to proceed with that?
Whatever is best for you guys.
This is just, you have the right to receive all information the board will be considering, including this document. So I'll give a summary of it right now, and then we'll kind of go from there. So it notes you have not participated in sex offense treatment. We'll talk about that here in just a minute. It discusses risk assessments using the standard tools, actuarial tools that the program uses. So the static 99R, the static 2002 revised, the bar 2002 revised, various assessment tools. Based on these assessment tools, the program states that your risk of recidivism, quote, falls within the below average risk for sexual reoffense. It gives some statistics as to what that means. Really, these are demographic information based on your history, victim type, your convictions, etc. It'll fall in a demographic bucket of below average risk. It gives summary and recommendations. It says, quote, incest cases can be some of the most egregious of all sex offenses due to the breach of trust involved. It gives some numbers. Quote, these tend to be very unlikely to repeat this behavior once sanctioned, is what the evaluator states. Research suggests that treatment dosage would not typically exceed 100 hours, and grouping these individuals with higher risk of individuals is discouraged due to the potential for increasing the risk of recidivism. This document recommends that you participate in sex offender treatment individually with a clinician who will determine the specific areas of focus and number of dosage hours required prior to parole. It says treatment would last between 6 to 12 months and would continue in the community once and if you were paroled in order to complete your aftercare program. It also says, while incarcerated, you'd benefit from life skills classes, thinking for a change, time out for men, relationships, sexuality, and intimacy. So this document is one of many factors that the board will consider. Do you have any questions or concerns? Would you like to postpone the hearing to receive this document and review it, or are you willing to waive disclosure?
Yeah, I'm willing to waive disclosure. I don't want to put a victim and their family through any more than what is necessary.
Okay.
So,
I'll note that you've waived disclosure of that, and we will proceed with the hearing as scheduled today. I do, while we're on that, so you've done, since you've arrived at the facility, you've completed MRT, you've participated in an LDS 12 steps class, worked on a college degree program, I believe, as well. There's really quite a few programs that I have lists of that what you've participated in. Some of them are attached to the institutional progress report. What have you learned in the classes that you've done?
So MRT was a good class. We learned a lot about thinking errors, how to, not just be humble, but empathetic thinking, how to take other people's feelings into account. That was a really good course. 12-step church programs, Inside Out Dad. We learn a lot about ourselves and the consequences our choices make, our choices have, and to think for others first. And why I've been incarcerated, why I've taken these courses, it has given me a big chance to start thinking outwardly instead of inwardly, to stop being selfish, to start helping other people. And I have found in here through those courses as well that there is a certain gratitude that far exceeds any of my selfish desires to help other people instead of hurt other people, which I did, and which I continue to do. And then they'll have to go through the rest of their lives. So these courses, I'm a firm believer in education. I'm a firm believer in learning from everything that is offered to me, and I'm taking advantage of those courses, and I'm listening, and I'm learning, and I'm participating in them, and I want to learn to be a better person. You can't drop lower than what I did. In my book, there's nothing lower. You don't get lower. There's only one way to come ahead, and that's to learn and change. It's the only thing I can do.
I note on that, so you've not started sex offender treatment. My review of the file suggests you're willing to do treatment. You've done the treatability assessments. I think the reason you've not been placed into treatment is the timing. You have a minimum sentence that's not for another 7 or 8 years, a guideline above that. So certainly treatment the timing of those things will be considered. I imagine after today's hearing, the board will set some expectations with treatment, likely a rehearing at a certain point in time to meet those expectations, maybe come back and discuss. The board has different options, but I think that would be maybe a likely outcome. It sounds like you're willing to complete any sex offense treatment that's recommended. Is that correct?
That's correct. Absolutely. More than willing.
Okay. I note you don't have any disciplinary violations. The institutional progress report lists various jobs that you've had in the kitchen as a janitor with good to excellent ratings. The housing staff there at the jail provides a very positive report as well of your behavior and attitude and your performance in your jobs. I have some notes from what you've submitted to us in writing about if and when you are granted parole, what your plans would be. Thank you for submitting those in writing. It helps me prepare, but want to give you an opportunity today. If and when you are granted parole, what would your release plan look like?
So my release plan, at the top of my list, my release plan is to interstate to Washington and live with my sister in Walla Walla, and to join an aftercare program. We've already talked to them. They're willing to accept me if and when in the future I'm released.
That's that Riverview Counseling and Consulting in Washington, I think is what's mentioned.
Yeah, correct. And so, Yeah, live with my sister, provide counseling up there with Riverview. And then find employment. There's numerous employments around her residence. So that would be at the top of my list. I have numerous options for addresses here locally in the Salt Lake area with friends, really good, solid friends, and job opportunities with them. I have addresses in Nevada with a really good friend, and then as well as Idaho with my parents.
Okay.
So yeah, as far as living and work, that would be my plan.
I do note that I received and read letters of support from a sister, mother, a friend discussing some of these plans, visits, etc., expressing support for you. I've provided a summary of those letters. The board will have those available to them as they consider your case after this hearing and in the future as well. I do note that if you are granted parole, if and when you are granted parole, that parole will include Group A sex offender conditions. Those things include, but are not limited to, completing any sex offense therapy that's recommended by an evaluation, having no victim contact, indirect or direct, without prior approval from supervisors, etc., having no contact or association with children under the age of 18 without proper approvals, not go or be places where children congregate or are reasonably expected to be. Submit to random polygraphs, have your employment and residence approved, etc. There's more on top of that, but those are some of the main ones. Would you be willing to comply with those conditions if and when you were granted parole?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, I think the report discusses some mental health symptoms over time. Have you ever been diagnosed with a mental illness at any point in time?
No, I haven't.
Have you ever taken medications for mental health symptoms?
No.
And how's your mental health at this current time?
It's good. It's good. It's clear.
Okay. Well, those are the questions that I have for you. What else would you like the Board of Pardons to know?
Just that, again, I want to say sorry for everything I've put my victim and everybody through, including my family, my friends, and even you guys to sit here and have to listen to this. The things I've been able to do in here have really shown me that there's a better way. There's a better person that I can become, that I know I have to become. I have an amazing support system out there. I have an amazing family, and I have really, really amazing friends that not only do they wish me the best, they want me to be the best, they expect me to be the best, but they're demanding this change out of me. And that means a lot for me. They're not just pushing it off. They're not, they take it seriously. I couldn't have asked for a better support system out there. They demand change out of me. They want me to do it better, and they know I can. And I want the board to know that I will always do better. No matter how the outcome of this meeting is, and no matter how much time it is, I accept it, and I'm happy with it. I want everybody to be, what am I trying to say? I'm willing to do what needs to be done for my victim to feel safe and to get, what she needs to heal. And I'm never going to stop trying to do better.
Okay. This time I'll take your case under advisement. I put together a report of what I reviewed before today's hearing. I will include in that report what has been discussed at today's hearing. I will then submit that to the members of the board. There's 5 members of the board. They make decisions by a majority vote. That decision usually takes, we say, up to 2 to 4 weeks. Sometimes it does happen within a day or a few days. Sometimes it takes a bit longer for a few weeks. Once the decision is made, we'll send it in writing to you, Mr. Millis. For anyone in the community that would like to access that decision, it will be posted to the Utah Board of Pardons and Parole website. Anyone interested also can call our office. We can walk through the information, what it means, etc. So that's how we'll proceed. With that, thanks to everyone who's participated at today's hearing. I wish you the best of luck moving forward, and we'll go ahead and conclude with that.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right, guys, that was the last hearing. I'll be back in 2 hours and some change. I'm gonna be doing the Arizona hearings. The first one's gonna be Pima at 6 p.m. and then 7 would be the Maricopa. Anyhow, I appreciate you guys tuning in. And like I said around here, life's like a candle. Once you blow it out, it lights out. And with that, we're out of here. Rato.